Self perfected. Let's go! Come and get the news, get some common sense too. Breaking through the filter that's been clouding the view. Step out the algorithm, take back control. No bias, no opinion, just pure gold. Tune in, wake up, it's time to reflect. What's best for all is what we dissect. No spins, no games, just the truth in your ear. Self-perfected, making things clear. So if you're ready to see and you're ready to choose, come and get the news with the common sense self-perfected, making things clear.
Hello.
Hey guys,
Mitchell, you have something exciting to share?
you want to just
got
jump
it.
into it, or you got to
got-
warm up?
You gotta warm up a little bit for that
That'll
one.
warm up.
Shout out Aaliyah, first repost. That's what I see.
Hey, I see it. I see Aaliyah. That's the first one I see.
You still doing 5 weeks?
She's got 5 weeks.
All right,
You got 5 weeks to live.
you got 5 more
We got
weeks. that's
5
it.
weeks. That's about how long it will take you to get through Damon and Freedom by Daniel Suarez.
It should not
Should
take
not
you
take
that long. It should not take you that long.
hey, before I caught up to your guys' pace, I don't even know. I'd have to look at Amazon when I ordered Damon.
Doesn't matter.
Probably
I
do
had
it
it for a
online.
while, and I didn't even read it.
Yeah.
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 Like
Let's
Christine
give
had
it
to
max
convince me.
10 days for each. That should be the internal marker for someone. Like,
Oh,
give yourself
Giselle's
about 10
ordering
days.
hers.
All
Okay,
right.
cool. We
So,
got
yeah, there we go.
I see a lot of people
There we go.
are reading it. So Sanjo's reading it, I know. Keith is reading it, I know. Mitch, you're in Freedom.
Yeah, it's essential reading, guys. You gotta.
Nice.
And you might be like, this is kind of intense. Like Damon's
It is intense.
pretty
Yeah.
intense, and it's worth it.
But it's a great read. Great read.
Yeah.
The problem is I've
So-
got a couple books like that I'm kind of reading at the same time right now, and I've got Delta V, which is another Daniel Suarez book, and so like I'll lay down, I'm ready to like read to like going to bed, and I'll see Delta V sitting there, and I'm like, if I read that, man, I'm not gonna be able to fall asleep. It's like so
Really?
stimulating. Yeah,
Yeah.
all of those books, they're just
Yeah.
like, so I'll read that, and then I'll read Heisenberg, and I'm like, okay, no,
Kind of
I'm
chill
fine.
out after that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so funny. Yeah, no. There's some books like what was that book I was reading? Dark Matter. I thought I didn't like it, and then I got to like where it gets really intense, and I could not go to sleep. I could not. I had to finish the book. I was like, "Fuck, it's so
Yeah.
good." Yeah,
So yeah,
Um,
those are good.
yeah.
Yeah, I got one in a little bit. I'll read one
Okay.
paragraph from it that will not spoil it, I promise. But
Okay.
I find it is very fitting to.
Did you
why we
see?
do everything.
Did you see on Tuesday? Trump was basically the White House was putting out all this stuff of like, we're gonna give some more alien. You guys are gonna be surprised by the alien drops that we have coming out tonight, right? It was like, oh man, I want to find just some of the like promotions or like the stimulation that they were doing for this alien drop because it was good. It was like, oh, they walk among us. Beautiful.
If you go to the
Oh.
White House X account, they've got them all there.
Yeah.
Different little
Dude, they
t-shirts.
post so much.
It's crazy, right?
I'll try and find some of those posts, and they're doing 30 a day. It seems
There,
like.
but there's a few.
I got
There's
it.
the one with the.
I got one. Here we go. This one says,
Hold on, let me see it
Loading.
first.
right?
No, that's not the first one though.
This isn't the first one.
No. You got to
No, the
find the
one- it
one where
was
it's like someone walking in a field. It's very like dark.
Oh, okay. Hang
If you
on.
scroll down, yeah, there's that one, and then there's that loading one,
Ah,
and then
damn
after
it.
that, there's one with the UFO.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I
here
missed
we
some of
go.
these you sent yesterday, Cameron.
No.
I went
The
through it on
first
my
one-
live stream on the whole reveal and everything.
No, I think the first one is that loading one, and then it goes to the other ones. Yeah. Because this is just unrelated stuff here. Let me share this. You can see it.
There's one that says like, "Are you listening?" That was the first one, I think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, this one was from May 28th, and then we get up to here, and this is the first one that I see. May 28th.
Is the "Are
loading
you
tonight.
listening" one?
Maybe. Oh wait. Well, these are all May 28th. Well, jeez.
Yeah. There's one that says, "Are you listening?"
Okay. Well, Jesus.
I know. There
Oh,
it is.
here we
there it
go.
is, There it is. Okay, do
Are
that
you
one.
listening? Okay. All right.
So they did that.
So I'm like, oh shit! I don't
Sounds
know
like
what kind of
aliens.
subliminal message they
Yeah.
put in there.
It sounds like
Right.
weird alien they're trying to catch or
I
something.
think it was from
Yeah.
that Steven Spielberg upcoming movie.
That's what I was thinking, right?
Right.
Like, some of that stuff.
It's like a
Like,
cross
oh,
promotional. Okay, then there's this one.
crop circles.
Clearly crop circles.
Oh shit! What was
Okay.
that?
So you're like, they're doing something about.
Oh.
And then there's this one. And then
That
you see
one
that
is
and you're like,
hilarious.
wait, this is
That's
about
hilarious.
illegal immigration.
And it's
isn't it?
aliens.gov, right? Right? Was that the last one? Okay, no. And then they walk among us, right? Alien arrest map live.
And then there's the website. So go to the website. Look at how they do it.
Okay. They walk among us. For 60 years, the U.S. government has kept a closely guarded secret. Aliens have been walking among us, living in our neighborhoods, and interacting with us in our daily lives. They've shopped in the same stores, attended the same classes as our children, and lived seemingly normal human existences.
Hold on, can you imagine David Icke going like, yes, finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
With one exception, they do not belong here. Millions arrived under the cover of darkness and embedded themselves directly into our society. Countless presidents, congressmen, and senior officials knew exactly what was happening. Instead of protecting American citizens, they chose to cover it up and even accelerate the invasion until one man finally had the courage to tell the truth. Bold, unapologetic, unafraid, President Trump was the first to call out the real danger aliens pose to every American family, every community, and the future of our nation. The truth is no longer out there. It is right here, right now. Top secret. Oh, snap. Scroll to continue.
3
What
million
is this?
encounters.
3 million encounters. Alien arrest map live. Whoa. Wait a minute. Wait. Criminal charges. Assault. Flight. Escape. Forgery.
Now notice, look at where it's at right now.
Countries of Brazil. It's in Florida.
Right, when I did mine, it was Texas.
Oh,
They're using
crap.
the IP to like show you where you're
Total arrests 51. Let's see what's going on over here. Oh, 4,000 arrests in Miami. Oh, geez. I need to just scroll over here a little bit. Oh, here we go. Is this Houston?
at. That's probably Houston.
That's Pasadena.
That's close to Houston. That's Houston right there above it. Probably.
Okay.
How's there more in Pasadena? Oh, that's Conroe. That's
So
funny.
there's Houston.
There you go.
4,000. There we go. Wow. Listen, I need to scroll up a little bit.
Yeah, come see how safe I am.
Yeah. Oh, this must be it right
I safe
here.
from
St.
aliens?
Paul, 474. They don't make a lot of
Wow,
arrests here.
What an evasion.
They don't make a lot of arrests here.
Yeah.
They just let them be. They don't want to hurt anybody out there.
Now show all the white people who've been arrested for crimes.
Yeah. Where is this? Is this Oklahoma? Oh, Giselle, watch out. All right.
Your backyard garden.
Aaliyah says, what if they're
Garden.
talking about immigrants? That is what they're talking about, Aaliyah.
Wow.
It was aliens the whole time. These are hilarious.
I
Yeah, this
gave
whole-
all my theories on my live stream when I went through all this stuff, but
Yeah.
one thing I noticed that's significant about it is like the whole UFO issue was like really popular, right? Especially online. So they literally used the energy of that and just redirected everybody's attention to this point. Like you can see it. It's like a very clear
Genius.
manipulation of that point.
Yeah.
So it's a lesson on selling and I won't say persuasion per se, but like just the selling where it's like you take what the person's interested in, you get them so curious that they can't not look, and then
Right.
then you show them what you want, and you take that energy, even if the person's disappointed, they still see the information.
Right.
And the other aspect of it is it shows you how clearly they don't really care.
Right.
Like they don't care that you notice that they're manipulating you. You see what I'm saying? Like it's so obvious. Like in the past, the way the government would do propaganda is it would do it in a way where they would still have a sort of semblance of they are trying to tell you the truth. Like they're trying to make it seem like they're not manipulating you.
Yeah.
But this is so blatantly like, oh, you're all interested in aliens? Okay, we're going to talk about aliens. Here's the aliens. Ready? Look, an alien website, aliens.gov. See, look now. Ah, haha, gotcha. It was something else totally. We just took your whole thing and just subverted it and told you what we want you to hear, right? And it's just so blatant. So it's like a shift, and it's like they took the alien meme. You know, like if you think about what a meme is today, where it was originally about some particular thing, but then people repurpose that because they know that gets attention, and then they
Right.
put their message to it. And so it's literally just they took the meme of aliens and then used it for that. And then I was thinking about it. Okay, let me ask you guys, like, what are the possible scenarios here? Because on the one hand, you could say, oh, they were doing all this disclosure and stuff this whole time just to get everybody, just so they could do this point. Like that could be one interpretation. Like all the disclosure stuff was actually just bullshit. Just because they wanted to hype up the focus around aliens so that they could launch this website and do all that.
Yeah.
That's like
Well,
one option, right?
Yeah.
But another option would be they just capitalized on the fact that everybody was interested in the UFO stuff. And it doesn't really mean that they aren't going to release more UFO stuff.
Yeah.
They just capitalized on the opportunity of all that energy and focus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you could say, oh, all the UFO stuff was bullshit. They were just doing it for this reason. Or in the middle of all the UFO stuff, everyone's focused on it, so they took that to get attention on the illegal immigration point, and there could be more there. Another theory I was thinking is that because like in the background you have like Tim Burchett and these guys saying, Trump's trying to do the disclosure. He's really trying. But he's being blocked by the CIA and all these other groups. So if he releases too much, they might just like take him out, right? So one option, assuming all that's true, is that they're like, okay, we got as far as we can. We released enough. We're not going to be able to release anymore. But why waste all this attention on the issue?
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's not really clear where's the UFO side of things actually going to go from here. It could just be like, and it's over. Haha.
Could be, or could be Steven Spielberg is getting everybody.
Then you
prepped.
got that too. Exactly. So
You got to wait till the movie comes out. That's what it is. It's like, they got all this UFO stuff coming out, and then they're like, now we have to wait till everybody has enough time to see the movie, and then we can release the rest of the stuff.
somebody said, I wish I had sent you guys the post. Somebody was like, let me guess, the Disclosure Day movie is all about, the experience of the other, and the way they worded it was so good, but it was like kind of like around the whole, that sort of Jewish experience of like being the other in a foreign place, and like, you know, being treated as like less than and all that. And like they were saying like, oh, let me guess, it's gonna be basically that's the story.
Damn.
You know, like another kind of like
Yeah.
Well,
Manipulation in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what the point of that movie is going to be, but you know I'm going to go see it, and I'll report back to all of us.
Mitchell's going in the theater. He's like, I
Yeah.
cannot
I
wait.
already said this.
Mitchell's
like,
gonna
a
get
month ago.
abducted. He's gonna get abducted.
Nah,
He's gonna come back. He's not gonna be the
I
same.
just I really want to know because, like, for example, I really don't go to movies that much, like at all. Probably once a year. I did go to the Avatar one to see, and you see the level of how sophisticated the movies are getting and how much impulsing is happening with, like, they're burning the planet. It was like fire themed, so it's this whole theme of like fire and the world is burning and like how they're portraying evil and all that.
Is this
so-
a different Avatar movie?
It's still the blue people, but it's a third
the
version
second
of
one
it.
or the third one.
Yeah, I never saw the second one until Valley.
I
I,
didn't
think
even know
Valley
there
visited.
was
Valley's like,
another
we have to
one,
watch
yeah.
the second one. I was like, okay, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's still mind blowing. Me and Jess talk about this often. That the very first time we ever hung out, she was showing me her notebook. This is before she had TT. She's showing me her notebook. She's like, "Did you know, with the budget of that Avatar movie, this is like 6 years ago. She's like, with that budget, we could like feed everyone in the world for like a long time." I'm like, yeah, that's insane. And I'm sure a lot of people have that in the back of their head, like some sort of mystical, like something seriously off. Like, why do we spend so much effort and energy on, or the Oscars, and then it's like,
To distract you.
Last night I was looking at I forgot how we got on this topic, but we were looking at the Vatican art collection,
Oh, I saw
oh
that.
my god.
and somebody was like, well, why don't they spend all that on, you know, feeding the poor or whatever? So I looked it up, like that question, and there was like this Catholic website. Like people always have this question of, you know, especially critics outside of the church, like why don't they just sell all their art and, you know, give it to the poor or whatever? And it was like, you know, even if they did, it would only be, you know, maybe $10 billion or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were like, and then that, you know, and then all the art would be bought up and put into private collections, and people would never get to see it again. And there's other values as well to consider here, right?
Like
And
the poor people get to see.
and then they even had a quote from Saint Teresa, like, you know, because they had asked her, like, why do they build these big churches and not just give the money to the poor? And she was like, even the poor love beautiful churches.
Also,
No.
Yes, dude.
didn't it also say something like, you know, you could ask all the art museums why they don't just why they don't just sell their art and give their money to the poor.
But the ironic thing is that the art museums are usually free.
Right.
So you can go to the art museums to see the art if you're poor. Like,
Right.
so they had this whole thing of like the poor should be able to view this beautiful art. And I'm like, yeah, how many of them are fucking going to the Vatican? And
Yeah,
and
it's just gonna fly to the Vatican from South America.
so we looked at like the Vatican gardens. They have these gardens, and it's like insane, dude. And then I looked up, so like what's in the art collection, right? And like the first piece they ever bought, this was like in the 1600s or something, or some long time ago, and it was like this statue of Laocoon, like something from Greek mythology, and it's like him and his two sons, and they're being like strangled by this gigantic serpent, and they're like in agony, and it's like the most poignant description of human agony in existence, you know, or something, like in all of art or whatever. And I'm like, this is the first, and like, you know, they're like fully nude with their dicks out and everything, like at eye level, like right there in your face and everything. I'm like, this is weird that this is the first thing that, not like a picture of Jesus or something. It was very specifically like this human agony. It was like the first in this gigantic statue, right? So then I was like looking through all of it. I'm like, this is weird, dude. This is so, you know, to hide behind like, oh, but you know, we have to keep this art there for like the poor to be able to experience and so forth. I'm like, yeah, I think these weirdos just want to have like a weird art collection.
Definitely.
It's crazy.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's like they also get off on the fact that it's weird, and then everybody sees it. Everybody sees their weird collection, and it's like, Yeah. Yeah. What are you gonna say about that?
There was another one. It was this carriage from like long time ago, like when that was like the mode of transportation. And it was like the carriage. It was like the original Pope Mobile, right? And it was this giant ornate carriage, and it was like wooden, like painted with gold, and that's what he would ride. And they have that in the museum and so forth. It's like,
Yeah,
right,
because the Pope has to ride around in gold to show
right.
all the pores. Look at what I have.
So we got on the topic because we were looking at the encyclical a few days ago and all that, and my prediction with that Pope's encyclical was that it's going to create sort of like a firestorm, and it did. People are still talking about it, surprisingly, because
Could
things
you
move so
elaborate?
fast.
He was like, I missed the thing. Something about Anthropic and the Pope.
Encyclical. Did I pronounce it correctly?
He said elaborate, not enunciate. But anyways, somebody pointed out there like encyclical, like keeps you in a cycle. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like how the Pope is addressing. I don't know why was it with Anthropic specifically, right? Or what exactly?
The founder,
Is it just a marketing
one of the
stunt by Anthropic?
founders. Well, perhaps. Do you ever
Some
read?
Hyperion shit.
Did you ever read Hyperion, Mitch?
No,
That should go on your list. I know you have.
it's on my list.
You have a list.
Yeah, let me finish
Read it tonight.
Freedom. Hey, at the pace I'm going, I'll need a new book in like
Yeah, that's
5
right.
days.
That's right.
So the Pope wrote an encyclical, which is like a letter. It's really like a big long document, and they don't do it often. It's not like they just do it every week or something. It'll be on some big major topic. And so he's written this encyclical, and it's basically talking about we shouldn't allow the AI to be run only in the hands of a few, because the potential for that to he even says the words like the potential for digital enslavement of humanity is there if you do that. He's not saying we shouldn't have AI. He's not explicitly like totally anti-technology, but there's a lot of like woke language in it of like diversity and shit like that. But dude, you'll love this part, Drake. I don't know if you already saw me talking about this or not, but the beginning of the encyclical, he opens with, I'm going to tell you 2 stories, right? And so the first one is the Tower of Babel. Okay, so he talks about the Tower of Babel, tells the story, not the whole story. He tells the story, but at the end, it's like, so they build this tower because they want to reach the heavens, and it's because of the pride of man and the glorification of man and all this. And then the thing falls apart because it wasn't centered around God. And then he tells the story of the Tower of Jericho and how they rebuilt the city of Jericho because it was like the one man, whoever his name was, I forget, but he decided like, hey, he heard about the cities in ruins. He got everybody together and they all worked together and they used their unique skill sets. And it wasn't just him opposing a plan from above, like, above meaning as a human. And everybody got together and worked together in the diversity of each person and their contributions and everything. And then it became a beautiful city. And see, that's because God was involved. But in the first one, God wasn't involved.
Wait.
So I'm not doing a caricature. I'm telling you, this was his argument, right?
Wait. So
I don't know the Jericho story.
I just
Remember,
basically what I said.
Jericho, like
no, there's
they
more to
made the
Jericho
walls
story.
fall down. That's all I remember.
Yes.
Did they rebuild
Yes.
it then?
The part he's talking about is the rebuilding of Jericho. The rebuilding of it.
But how did Jericho's walls come down in the first place?
Yeah, but that's a different part of the
Pray
story.
to God.
He didn't want to tell that part. He didn't want to
They
tell
didn't
that
say any of that shit. Like, but the point is, he totally misrepresented why Babel fell.
Yeah.
He doesn't say that part. That in the story, it's like God looked at the whole thing, saw that they were doing it, and he even says in the story, because they're united through a common language, they'll be able to do anything that they put their minds to.
So he gave them all different languages.
So then he confused their languages and the whole project fell apart.
That's right.
But then the way the Pope presents it is because they weren't centered around God and it was like a prideful project. That's why, as if that makes it inherently unstable.
Yeah.
But it wasn't literally in the story because God went and confused their languages so they couldn't work together.
Yeah.
But the Pope misrepresents that in the story, and nobody cares.
No, because they already accept the point of like, yeah, because it was because of pride, because they can't read. Their
I mean,
language is
the
confused.
story is quite explicit if you read it. It's not even a long story. It's easy to understand the way it's written.
You say that, Cameron, but I've been meeting with lots of people lately that I learn have the reading level of a second grader. And then I'm like, oh, how would I explain this to a second grader? Like I gotta
Yeah.
really, really dial things back, you know?
Yeah, so that was interesting. But then you have all these people saying like the Pope's a doomer, he hates progress, technology, and so forth, which is weird because, I mean, if you stay within his like logic and assumptions that God's important, like he didn't say anything like there shouldn't be technology or we shouldn't have
Right.
AI. It was just like, you know, you need to respect human dignity. That's the whole general point. But then also in it, he says anything that claims to basically remove all your weaknesses, like you can't trust that because it's a false promise, and that suffering is a part and weakness is a part of being human.
I think he sincerely believes that, and here's why. I
He's
just
got a weakness for penis art. He's like, we all have our weaknesses.
we all
I
have
like
our weaknesses.
the penises all day. I don't know who, but
No, I saw a reel. I got impulse with this reel, and it was like how youth pastors try to share their unrelatable past or whatever. And I watched it because I remember going to like youth group as a kid and all that. And it was this guy, maybe no, I can't find it. But it was this guy basically like, and like you got the like church music in the background. It's like really like, I guess
setting the mood.
It's setting the mood. It's like setting the ambiance,
Yeah.
And he's like, I know you look at me and you think, wow, Pastor Mike's got it all together. Look at Pastor Mike. But can I tell you something? It wasn't too long ago when I was in high school, just like you guys, and I was in a weak spot. I wasn't where I was supposed to be at with my faith, and I had this moment of weakness where a friend offered me a hit of his vape, and I took that hit, and I've been regretting it ever since. It was just that one time, but I've been praying about it, and I wish I never did it. And it's like, and then he goes on. He's like, and you might look at my smoking hot wife Madison, and think, wow, look at how God has brought them together. And I'll just share this with you, and I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this, but we kissed out of wedlock. Our first kiss was out. In fact, we did that 3 times. And that's not what we're supposed to do. And I sinned. And you might think, well, yeah, but you might still be thinking, Pastor Mike, but that's so far in the past. But can I tell you?
He's like, that was 3 weeks ago.
On the way to church last week, somebody cut me off, and I just said, "What the heck, man?" And see, I sin too. Like I'm still working through it, but don't you know that when, just because you sinned in the past doesn't mean you're past God's grace. Can I get an amen? And watching that, I was like, oh, it's like they have to continue like having weak points throughout or weaknesses so that they can remain relatable or still show that God's working through them. They're not perfect. And it's like, but you're like making shit up so that you can be a sinner. You know what I mean? It's
Tell
like
us
you're
the
looking
real shit
for
you're doing, dude.
Right. We know, actually, Pastor Mike. Come on.
It's like on the
OnlyFans
men's
account.
retreat, we were doing the cold plunges, and I was looking over at Pastor Joe and admiring those muscles. And I said, God, please don't let me do this. But Pastor Joe and I, we got in that tent. And I won't go into it, but we sinned a lot. We sinned so much, and we prayed while we sinned.
We were just trying to keep each other warm. The cold plunge, it was very cold.
And then Pastor Joe told me about his sin in the past week with my smoking hot wife.
Madison,
let me
you
tell
know
you.
her.
Let me tell you what I did last month with the church funds. I bought a boat.
That's it right there.
I'm probably
what's
gonna
really
go
cool.
after this and probably sin at the strip club for a little bit with Pastor Joe.
That's it. That's it. Mitch, did you see this thing that I sent of this guy saying you need to go and read the Anthropic stuff? Like what's going on with Anthropic? Did you see that?
So that's what I did on the stream last night.
Okay, well we're gonna do it again here.
No,
on
what
on
the
podcast this
the
morning.
Bill Gurley saying they're birthing
That
an
one.
entity?
Did you see it?
No, I just saw the headline.
You need to watch it. You need to
Okay.
watch it. Okay. All right. This is for
Yeah.
Mitch and everyone else who doesn't watch Cameron's.
It's like a yeah.
Live stream.
Okay.
I've literally in the past 30 days read everything I can about Anthropic, and I've come up with a new theory. This
Okay, new breaking theory.
The reason I call this the Dr. Frankenstein theory is the more I dig, I've met people who I dare say think it's their responsibility and they're excited about building a species that's superior to humans. And I would just encourage people to read, as much as they can about Anthropic. Chris Ola worked on this thing called the Constitution. It's about 80 pages. It's hard to get through, but I would encourage you to read it. Amanda Askill, who is the chief philosopher, has started doing podcasts. I would encourage you to listen to them and listen to her language. And then Dario wrote this blog post called Machines of Loving Grace.
Loving Grace. Yeah, I
Yes.
read it.
And it was based on a poem. And the poem is kind of weird. We should put a link to the poem. It's quite short. But the last stanza of the poem says, I like to think of a cybernetic ecology where we are free of our labors and joined back to nature, return to our mammal brothers and sisters. I don't know what that means. Like we're going to go live in the fields where the mammals live. And then the kicker, and all watched over by machines of loving grace. Sounds like Overlord to me. And then in Dario's post, he says near the end, and it's very long. You read it, Jamal. I mean, Machines of Loving Grace is very long, but
Yeah.
he's talking about in the future, what are humans going to do? Because he believes in the massive abundance and UBI and that we won't have to work. I don't believe in any of those things, but he does. And then he says, it could be a capitalist economy of AI systems, which then give out resources to humans based on some secondary economy of what the AI systems think makes sense to reward in humans. So that's envisioning a deity of sorts that's going to break ties and decide what humans get.
It's a computational reward function for humans. It decides how much you're worth.
Yeah, so I don't think they think they're writing software. I think they're midwifing a deity here. And I don't know which one I'm more afraid of, the regulatory capture or this second theory I call the Dr. Frankenstein theory. It's more scary to me, I think, the second thing.
These are delusions of grandeur. Let's call it what it is. They believe that they are so intelligent. I know some of these folks, the Burning Man sort of offshoot of it, transhumanism, they believe that they're so powerful, these individuals, that they can create God. And that by creating God, they are like this Prometheus kind of species. It literally is the ultimate level of narcissism and delusion of grandeur to think you can create God. And that then the God you create, like you're saying, Bill, is going to be so benevolent and perfect that you constructed the perfect God that will give you your pellet, will give you your little Skinnerian,
I just would correct you. I didn't say it. Dario said it.
Right. But to your point of like just taking them at their word, they actually believe that they can create God and that they'll create a God so good that it's better than humanity.
Okay. What's your hot take on that, Mitch? Your first
Well,
reaction.
I find it funny that the Jason guy is clearly in the Epstein files. So that was the first point. Just
That's ad hominem.
man, was that?
Ad hominem, yeah.
So
Penalty pin a flag on the play.
So what the fuck? Like
He's only in the Epstein files because he's saying not to create God. He's telling
Yeah, that's
Epstein
all.
not to create God. So
Yeah, he was telling Epstein,
we'll,
don't
we'll,
create
we'll forgive
God."
him for that.
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know, man.
Here's
I
what I
don't want
see.
the AI dishing out the rewards
Here's what I see with
if
it.
it got to that point.
If you look at it from a certain perspective, it does make sense what they're doing. From the
Who
perspective of
specifically?
like, huh?
Who you said they? Who are you referring to?
Dario or whoever was writing what was like in the orange highlighted text, of this idea of like, well, it'll be up to the AI to determine what the value of what we're doing is. And I say that just from the perspective of, it makes sense that, well, right now what's happening is your value is determined by how much money you can make by, like, marketing and whatever, however useful your thing is. But
How much debt
even
you can go into?
really, but it's not even like, because I'm the party line is you make money based on the value that you create. But in reality, you're creating a product that is going to break within a couple of years so that you can sell it again to the same people. Because if you create a product that's actually really good and lasts for a long time, then they pay for it once and then you're out of business.
And why is that a problem? Is because we have a debt-based system that, if according to the logic of the debt-based system, if we created all the products to last, there would not be as much to buy, and therefore you couldn't make the interest payments on the money you borrowed in the first place to create the stuff.
Right.
So literally built into the system is, don't make everything actually in the best way.
Right.
So I went
Is
through
that gonna
that.
get programmed into the AI to
Well-
question the system at that level?
I went through that document they were referring to, that Machines of Loving Grace, and they're a bit taking it out of context as if that was the whole point he was making in that document, which it wasn't. Although, in their defense, he is calling it Machines of Loving Grace, and he specifically is referencing that poem. Like, there's a link to it on there. So you see the kind of thought pattern in that poem of, like, basically having the robots and the computers do all the stuff so we can just live our lives and not have to labor, like, unnecessarily, right?
But here's what I see with just from that clip, and maybe you can explain more, but like just from that clip, what it seems to me is like they're I don't know if it's like, in earnest, but it appears like they're trying to create the thing that's like, hey man, wouldn't it actually be cool if instead of us having to create value in this way that we're doing it currently, like there would be some other entity, some third party that could say, hey, this is what's actually valuable, so that like it would basically police us in a way. And I know that this doesn't actually sound great, but like considering it from the perspective of somebody who doesn't understand what we understand, like Destiny and Best for All, but from the perspective of like, man, I don't know how to get other people to agree with this, but if there was some other entity that was smarter than everyone, more powerful, etc., and it could just say, and everybody's needs were taken care of because it's handling that too, and it could just say, hey, this is what's valuable, then that would take a burden off of everybody else, and we wouldn't have to fight and compete just to survive. That's what it seems like just based on the clips that they selected.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the point I got to when I was looking at this last night, which was, but you've got in that podcast a bunch of capitalists. Like, they raise money and they invest in things. They don't physically do the work. So they already have Machines of Loving Grace. They've got human beings that go do the labor, and what manages whether they get access to the capital or the debt to employ it in a way where they can organize people to do things is an economic system that decides what you're worth. Like if some other person, random person off the street, went to the system and said, give me $1 billion because I have an idea, they're not going to give it to him. So it's a bit like okay, what I think what they're reacting to is they don't want a system that determines what they can or can't do.
Mhm.
Right? But they have the advantage, probably genetically and education wise, to play in the current system and win.
Mhm.
So they don't want something to say like, oh no, you're taking too many resources. You're not considering actually what would be good for everybody. So you can't have as much. That's it's like the idea of communism, right? But it's, how do I explain it? It's like if the playing field was actually level, in fact, everybody had the same education level, okay, then they wouldn't be in the position they're in. They wouldn't. So
Right.
they're kind of the same point I saw with like the Pope, where the Pope is basically like, we don't want these tech elite to control this super intelligent AI because they'll be able to brainwash everybody, and then they'll brainwash everybody essentially to like maybe not believe in God.
Right.
So he's on the side of this certain God, and these guys are representing a different type of God. So it's like you have this war between the old God and the new God, right? And what's interesting is they're talking shit about Anthropic, which is actually more on the side of the Pope. But they're doing the same thing the Pope's doing. There's the old God, which is the capitalist system as it is.
Mm.
And there's a new potential God coming, which is like a super intelligent computer that's going to determine what you get and what you don't get. And they're like, we don't like that because that God might take away our advantage. They're not
Right.
saying that explicitly, obviously, but that's what I see.
Yeah.
Because the whole myth of our system is that, well, anybody can be successful. See, I came from nothing, and it's like, but you understood how to play the debt game.
Also, they take for granted that we can't all be equal, actually, not in reality.
Yeah, because they're like, see, look at how I use wealth, and I create all this stuff, and that's the evidence. Just like people look at the Pope and they see the art collection, and they're like, well, he must be right about something.
Right.
Because look at what they've created. God must be on his side, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're all just feeling threatened by something that's coming that's going to equalize everybody. And now I understand their mistrust, right? Their mistrust is, well, is this system actually going to do what's right? Or is it going to be kind of corrupt in some way? And it's really just like the communist dictatorships where they act like they care about the people, but they just cause famine because you can't really control all the variables and so forth. And here's the thing, though. If you actually read the entire Machines of Loving Grace blog that Amade Dario wrote, he goes through all those objections. The whole thing isn't about just that point of like, we need to create this thing that like, he's more like, it's almost like a thought experiment of like, okay, then where will this lead and where will this lead? And at some point he's like, I mean, think about it. If everybody has super intelligence and the intelligence can command robots and so forth, and it can create its own robots. Okay, so you have 8 billion people on the planet and they all have access to super intelligence. Aren't we going to have to consider how the fuck we're going to manage all the resources at that point?
Yeah.
Because 8 billion people can employ 8 billion super intelligences for their own self-interested purposes. We're going to strip mine the entire earth very quickly. Now, but then Dario explains there's some limits. There's physical limits. You know, things still have to happen in physical reality, that some things take time. So it's not going to be this sudden overnight singularity, all diseases are eradicated. You know, so he has more like, when you read through it, he's like, I think it can solve a lot of disease type problems. It can solve potentially even some inequality problems in terms of poverty and things like that. He said, but the bigger threat is going to be the fact that dictatorships can use it as like an advanced form of propaganda. And he's like, how do we prevent that? And so he's talking about the democratic countries who have democratic values should do everything they can to accelerate their ability to get on top of owning the chips, the infrastructure, etc., so that the more dictator type countries, which would be like China, for example, they can't really access the level of AI that the democratic countries can. And then so they eventually realize, okay, the only way for us to get that stuff you guys have is to let go of our authoritarian points. So it's like democracy has to get on top so that it's kind of like the George Bush playbook.
But I already have an objection with that, and that's the propaganda is already happening.
Well, see,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. When Dario's like, our democratic ideals, I'm like, do we live in a fucking democracy?
That's
Actually,
the propaganda right
so it's
there.
like there's this idealized thing of what we have over here in any Western country, you know?
Dude, I saw this
So-
thing, and I don't know. Maybe did I save it? Hopefully I saved it. No, I didn't save it. But it was a poster from Norway, from World War II. Let me see if I can pull it up.
What did Norway do during World War II?
What happened?
What did Norway do during World War II? Were they part of the Allies, or were
I
they
don't
like a
know,
neutral?
but check this out. So I just found this on Amazon. So I don't know the validity of this thing, but this is apparently a vintage World War II Norwegian military propaganda poster, right? And this is depicting the U.S. So you see, there's a woman on the one shoulder with the flag. It says Miss Victory, and then there's another woman that says Miss America, and she's got like the Indian, headdress.
Racist.
And then it's got these wings of like a airline or an airplane. It's got a noose hanging from it. It's got a cage that says Jitterbug on it, the Ku Klux Klan hood.
Oh, they like it's pointing out how we
Yeah, it's got like the racist. It's got 4 arms. One of them's holding a grenade. One of them's holding a Tommy gun with handcuffs shackled
Damn.
to it, and it's like a criminal.
What's there at the bottom below the drum?
A flag, just a flag.
Weird.
Just a flag. Don't look at that. It says "World's Most Beautiful Leg," and then this
That's pretty
one, this
beautiful.
leg is a bomb,
Hmm.
right? Hang on, let me see. And then bag of cash with a banker hanging from it, and it's destroying some European city, and it says. So apparently, what it says, this guy who's holding the sign says, the U.S. will keep the European culture from being ruined, something along those lines. And then what it says in black right next to it, but with what right, is what it says. Apparently,
Dude,
that's what it says.
I started watching Century of the Self
Yeah,
again.
yeah.
And in the beginning, they talk about how they brought Wilson brought Edward Bernays with him. I think this was after World War One, if I'm not mistaken. And they figured out, that was where he figured out like how to use propaganda effectively. And they got all the Europeans to see Wilson as like this great liberator.
Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
So this was in the aftermath of World War II when
Yeah.
they went to go
World War
basically
One. World War One.
Aftermath of
Oh.
World War One.
Okay.
Woodrow
So-
Wilson, World War One. Woodrow
pretty sure,
Wilson
yeah.
won World War One. Woodrow Wilson won World War
Oh, we didn't
One.
get that propaganda in our school.
But that was like the point when they were shocked at how well the propaganda worked over there, And obviously, you could say, well, it didn't work. Look, they have that. But I mean, the point was they got it to do what they wanted at the time. And yeah, that's a good example because you're like, well, that's just German propaganda. That's just obviously, of course, they're going to say that. And it's like, well, so you don't see any of that in reality. We're just going to pretend like everything's perfect. And I mean, it's you see all these people like not being honest about everything,
Yeah.
you know, and then you realize, okay, so even Amadei, there's propaganda within what he's saying, but I don't know, it's so weird. It's so weird when you also bring in the Pope point, because he's got the co-founder of, so that guy they talked about, Chris Olah, who was one of the co-founders of Anthropic. He wrote the Constitution for Anthropic. He was at the conference for the encyclical.
Yeah.
They had him as one of the speakers there.
Yeah.
Right. So so in other words, you see the Pope is saying, hey, don't let this technology be only in the hands of the few tech elite. And then that's somehow connected with Anthropic. So now you've got these guys over here talking shit about Anthropic. You see, because you see how they're all kind of connected.
Yeah.
But again, another thing that really sort of allows you to see through a lot of the deception is when you read that Delta V book, like we've talked about, where they talk about, hey, we've got to go explore space and mine asteroids because otherwise the economy is going to collapse because we can't create debt fast enough.
Right.
And then you bring in like that Douglas Rushkoff, which I don't know if we talked about it here or not.
I don't think so.
But
no, we didn't talk about it here.
we didn't talk about it here, but he gives a little kind of brief history of the creation of money. I think I might have talked to you guys about it somewhere.
On a different.
It was in a different meeting. Okay, yeah. But you guys know what I'm talking about, though, where he explains. Yeah, obviously we talked about this before we started filming, where he talks about how they introduced the markets into Europe, and then that suddenly allowed the people who created shit to not have to be reliant only on giving to the king, but they could actually trade with each other, and they were starting to be a point of abundance, and they could actually work less because they could do something with what they created, like the excess of the surplus of what they created.
Right.
So then the aristocracy was like, we got to put a stop to that.
Right.
And that's when you start introducing like the currency, the fiat currency. That's like, you know, you have to use the king's currency, right? And then they started creating what do they call it?
Employees.
No, what was the monopoly thing? Chartered monopolies.
Yeah, chartered monopoly.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, no, there's an official shoemaker, and everybody's got to work for him.
Right.
Right. And then that led to the point of, well, the one shoemaker guy doesn't want to employ a bunch of master shoemakers because they would require more, they would demand more for their skill. So what if we just industrialize so that we can have random people off the street make the shoes, and I can just set up an industrial process and you just glue the thing onto the shoe. The other guy makes the laces and the other guy does this part and that. And so you don't even, no one really even knows how the whole thing works except the guy at the top.
And then if you just slow that down, like that introduces the problem of capitalism, where capitalism has this line where they say, you know, you get the value that your labor, you know, can fetch from the market. But then it's like, okay, but the problem is you're devaluing the market by then going and like, oh, I don't want to pay you that. Oh no. Instead, I'm going to teach this guy over here how to do a fraction of this and teach this other guy a fraction of that. And then they never develop any skills. And so you're like purposefully, there's all this manipulation in the market. You know, the other propaganda line is like the invisible hand. Yeah, the invisible hand is your fucking hand, and you're just going behind everybody's back and doing it. Yeah. Like
okay, here's another point to connect. I just realized, which is, so imagine it's the marketplace economy. Okay, everybody's trading, they're starting to build wealth. The aristocracy feels threatened by that because they don't produce anything. So they're like, if this is where the economy goes, we've got to start making shit. We can't just like, before, how did the aristocracy exist? They owned land. And people they didn't have land, so they had to work on the aristocracy's land. And the aristocracy could say, you've got to pay me a certain amount of what you're doing. That's the interest.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you create all this, I take a piece of it. So now they can then have what they have, right? So then when people started doing more of like the market economy, now they're obviously like, okay, we got to squash that, right? So they introduced the fiat currency, which means now the only legal currency is the one that, let's say, the king issues. Okay, so that's step one. So then you've got the chartered monopolies, which is the royal shoemaker, and he decides at some point, I'm not going to employ all of the other artisans and craftsmen. I'm going to just get a bunch of workers to work in a factory. But how does he build a factory? And if you think about it, because now you have a centralized currency
Yeah.
where all the money is now flowing back to the king or the royal treasury or whatever, now they've got all this money.
Yeah.
Now they can start issuing loans.
Now they can.
Does that
build
make sense?
even
And now
greater
I can give
enslavement.
you the loan to build the factory, but you got to pay me back the interest. So it switched it back to the whole idea of the kings with the land from that perspective.
So now the analog of that is like, that they issue the money, and then the hedge fund says, hey, I can help you make more money off of that, and the money goes all back to the hedge fund, where
Right.
they say, now we're gonna take that money and build a data center so that we can
Right.
really be involved in your lives. And dude, it's
It's the same pattern playing out, and you can
Yeah.
tell they're all lying to us.
yeah.
They're all lying to us about what's really going on.
And the people are just so distracted, not educated enough,
Discombobulated.
discombobulated.
You're just all over the place. Like, is it this? Is it that? Are they doing this? Are they doing
They're
this over here?
confused, and so they
Right.
don't even recognize that this is a huge fundamental problem. You know,
But you can see it's the same story playing out where they're like, okay, now people can communicate with each other. They can create cryptocurrencies. Oh no, like it's like we're back to the marketplace, so to speak,
Right,
right? They're like,
right,
shit,
right.
what do we do here? Because
Right.
if we allow them to do that, then our system, which is debt based, right? Like, I'm not a pro crypto person for a lot of reasons, but I'm just saying, in general, it represents now you can just trade directly,
right?
right? And it's hard to maybe in some senses trace that and control it. So like we need to centralize that so that way we can control what everybody's doing, and
Yeah.
we can then have all the data centers which controls the flow of data. So they're just like, it's like anytime there's like an expression of, oh, we don't really need to rely on people who don't want to actually create anything, and they only create because they control how money and debt works. And so if I want to create something, I have to go through them, right? So now if we found out a way where we can just work directly and do the things we want, that makes them obsolete in the
Yeah.
process. So they're like, well, but how am I going to have what I want? So it's like we're all competing in a certain sense.
A couple of things. What was it? Whitney Webb had said something about crypto, which in this interview that I'd watched, like that she did with Glenn Beck. Yeah, 3 years ago. But she basically was just like saying the same point that you're saying right now. Like, well, okay, the whole idea with crypto is supposed to be it's peer to peer. They're not going to allow that to last for long. You know that. Like
You see, it's the same.
yeah. Like it doesn't make sense. It's basically what she was saying. Like it can't last. But I think everyone, well, not everyone, but if you're putting these points together, that becomes pretty obvious, that because even wasn't there a time when they were basically saying the government is going to issue out crypto and put a bunch of reserves into crypto, and I've seen some local governments, like some city councils or whatever, saying, they were going to put $1,000 a day into crypto, something like that. And the people, of these local towns were like, what the fuck? If you got $1,000 to invest a day in crypto, why are you not helping the community with this and this? We still have these problems in our community. What are you doing? Like, who's doing this?
But at the
Right?
same time, because of the rules of the money system,
Yeah,
it probably makes sense to do the investment,
I hear you.
right? Because like otherwise they're like, well, if we just give you all the money, how do
That
we
money's
get
gone.
more?
Yeah, exactly.
And then probably the government, the city or county or whatever it is probably in debt,
Yeah.
and they have to do all the
Dude,
So
think, think about how fucking insidious that this whole thing is. And we were talking about just okay, but then what do? You get, your bankers to just say, okay, guys, we realize there's a problem with this whole money system, and we're just gonna stop. And then what? Like, because you have not only would you have to get every bank and every business, anybody who holds a lot of money, the Vatican included, you'd have to get them all to agree, right? But also at the same time, if they decide to do that, if they decide to say, okay, we're going to change things because we realize this is not benefiting everyone, then they also have to trust that the people themselves won't then take advantage of the change, right? And this is where it becomes kind of sticky, because and this is why we have a completely different approach where it's not reliant on like, oh, the elite have to change first, right? It's every individual going and changing for themselves and seeing the solution and seeing, okay, and then working towards that for themselves. And then it's a grassroots, one by one, everyone can see and decide together. And when you have the vast majority of people saying, okay, well, this is what makes the most sense, and we can act as one because we can see it really clearly, and we can be unified, and we can, what's the opposite of confuse your language? Unify our language, right? Because we can clarify our language, exactly, and unify on this point. Then we can go, oh, okay, I can actually trust that we're all on the same page here. I'm going to do what's best. I'm going to make that decision. And everybody else does that. And then it has to change, right?
Yeah,
go
okay,
ahead.
but if you go back to where we're talking about the industrialization, you basically had to eliminate most of the people who know how to make shoes. Like if there's a
Right.
world shoemaker and they want to industrialize, you have to eliminate that. So you can see how the dumbing down of everybody
Yeah.
is a function of, well, we couldn't have this thing work if everybody's highly intelligent, right?
Right.
So we had to dumb everybody down. And it wasn't like maybe one decision from the top. It was just a function of it's only working if people are working in the factory. So that means they
Yeah.
don't know much. Because if they knew how to build shoes and or whatever, if they had real understanding of things, they wouldn't be just doing that thing.
Yeah.
So now everyone's in a trap because the elite can't trust, okay, if we just go to an equal based point, will everybody do anything? Will
Right.
everybody do anything? Because they don't, it's like if you're at the top, you have all the data, you know how dumb everybody is. You know how it's like everyone's essentially factory workers. And they're like, well, but the economy where we all work together only works where each person's taking a lot of responsibility to create something. And now we have a society that we have created where nobody knows how to create anything. Everyone's just the problem is everyone's just a consumer and they just want to consume things. They don't want to create anything. It's like, well, but that was a created thing as a response to the debt system not working, where they
Right.
took propaganda, they turned it into public relations, and then they turned on the population and said, oh, we're just going to get you to buy all the shit that's being made through the industrialization.
Right.
So then, because we have, and it's like, well, okay, but I have everything I need. No, but you know, do you have? But look at this car. When you drive this car, you feel like a real man. And you're like, oh yeah, I need to feel like a real man. I need to buy that car. You know, or like any of those psychological. So they did psychological warfare on everybody through the psychoanalysis understanding. I can tap into your desires, your unconscious shit. There's a gold mine there. Like, think about it. That was a colonization that happened. Because they colonized the world, they extracted all the resources, they industrialized, they started building a bunch of shit, making a bunch of stuff. But then at a certain point, there wasn't enough economic growth. So they had to go and figure out, how can we there's a new territory here, the unconscious. There's all this resources here.
Yeah.
There's all these desires and the little emotional things I can pull on. So they extract as much as they can from that to get everybody to feel like they need to buy shit. They don't need, like, I need a new, bigger TV every year kind of thing.
Yeah.
At a certain point, that doesn't work anymore because of the mathematics of the debt increase. So they extract as much as they can. What does that create within people? It creates, because it's like you're going in and fucking with all of their little desires and stuff and creating all these like chain reactions and stuff. So people become more mentally unstable. That's why when you read some of this philosophy I've been reading, they're saying schizophrenia is a product of capitalism. It's like you're fucking around inside of people's minds.
Yeah.
and like pulling on it, and you're not doing it in a directed way where you're helping them understand. You're just doing it to be like, oh, there's a potential desire there. Let me amplify that.
Right.
And then suddenly that's an energy that's created that the person starts to now they have other problems. Oh, here's a drug for that. Oh, you have depression now. Let me give you that. They're just right. So now at a certain point, like Douglas Rushkoff was pointing out, that only goes so far. So then the internet's created, and they're like, oh, another
Now it can be
infinite,
unlimited.
because Bernard has this article says that, or a blog post that says the internet is like the something about it being like the collective unconscious, right? You see, so they got into the individual's unconscious, but then with the internet, they're like, oh, here's how we can tap into all the unconscious shit even more effectively. Now you add all the algorithms to that, and it's doing it
Now you
even
had the
more at an
AI
individual.
chatbot.
And Rushkoff points out, he's like, but then they ran into a problem. A person only has so much time and attention they can give. So
Right.
there's a finite limit to how much you can extract out of that person just based on they have to have this attention point. So now it's gotten to the point where, and I think this is what Rushkoff's overall point was, is that the elite have realized we're at the end of the fucking line.
Yeah.
Like we've gone into the individual as far as
Well,
we
they
can.
can still matrix it up. Tap
But-
straight into the body.
But even then, can you imagine at some point there would
There's
be a
gonna be a
limit to
limit.
that?
Yeah.
And if the whole thing is debt based, there's a certain point where you just can't. And that's where, like in Delta V, they're like, that's why we got to go mine asteroids and shit, because we got to bring in more resources and have more reasons for
Basically
creating
Star
debt.
Wars level shit then at that point.
Which means you got to colonize the galaxy and keep expanding. But there's obviously a limit to that at some point. You know, like if you just keep playing it out, like Asimov has a great story. I forget what it's called, but it's about using an AI to try to figure out how to stop the entropic heat death of the universe. So they build this AI, and then they learn how to like harness the power of suns so that the AI can expand more. And it ends up using up all the stars, and the only thing left at the end is the AI still trying to figure out, how do I prevent the heat death of the universe? But it literally is the thing that sucked up even faster all the energy in the whole
Yeah.
in the universe, right?
Yeah.
So you can see there's a limit to it. So if we're not thinking short term, this is not sustainable.
I want to go back to.
I think
'cause-
Mitch has a. I think he's got his.
Oh.
Is
Go
this
ahead,
related,
go ahead.
Drake? Because this is a perfect time for me to share this.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is a lot of us are reading this series. Damon is the first one, and Freedom is the second one by Daniel Suarez. So I'm
Don't-
going to read part of it. I will
spoil
not spoil any of it. I'm not going to include character names.
Fucking
It's just
spoil it.
I don't mind if
very-
you spoil it. I've already read it. It's fine.
for Sandro, who hasn't read it yet. So, okay. It's like a couple paragraphs. And they're talking about civilization. So he said, they made a simple enough mistake, the same one we're making. They founded their society on resource extraction, and in doing so, inflated their population beyond their carrying capacity of the land. They cut down all the trees and expanded arable land with irrigation projects until finally there were no more trees, their topsoil washed away, and when drought came, their highly centralized society fell apart and bloodshed in a few short years. Instead of adapting, their leaders clung to power and strove instead to be the last ones to starve to death. The Mayan civilization in South America did the same, and I expect our own civilization will do likewise. The people behind the modern global economy will prevent any meaningful change until it's too late. But the question that needs to be answered is whether civilization's inability to adapt is a failure of leadership or an unwillingness in humanity itself. It says, your quest comes at a critical time in human history. It's time we know whether a durable democracy is possible, one whose laws are not just guidelines, one where individual rights cannot be ignored by the powerful. I leave this for you to prove. Whether it encompasses a distributed democracy or ruthless hierarchy is up to people like you. Prove the collective human will can prevent its own destruction, and you will have justified humanity's freedom. And so I'll just leave it at that, because I don't want to spoil any of it. But I really like that line on the distributed democracy. Yeah. Basically, whether we're going to choose distributed democracy or ruthless hierarchy, it's up to people like us.
Dude, it's so interesting and so good. I love that book. I love that series. Um, I was just thinking while you were sharing that, I saw this video of I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's this hole that's in Siberia, right? Have you guys heard about this? And it's growing. It's growing
What?
exponentially.
Sounds like some shit I get in my Facebook feed, and I'm like,
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show
dislike
you.
post.
Dislike. Check
It
this out.
sounds like some boomer shit on Facebook.
I know. But look at this. Look at this. So this is the hole, right?
Oh, all right.
Right. And I'm not gonna play
Four
the whole
words for you.
video. Let me see if I can just speed it up. Right. But basically, let me go to the image that.
Drake, is this confirmed that this is real?
Hold on. Look. So this is what it looked like 30 years ago.
What was the
Okay.
crater from?
So the crater is
A
from
data center.
Okay.
Let's just play it. It's not that long.
Yeah, you're right. All right, I'll just play it.
I don't know anything about it.
I got 4 words for you. Check out this hole. You can resume your depressing politics doom scroll in a second, but right now it's hole time. This isn't just any hole. It's one of the biggest and most rapidly expanding holes in the world. Oh no. It's called the Batagaika crater. It's of course in the middle of Siberia. It's what's called a thermokarst, or a retrogressive thaw slump. Retrogressive thaw slump. Jesus Christ. Milo, that's great, but those words are complete gibberish, and this means nothing to me. Don't worry about it, I got you. Back in the 60s, the Soviets decided to cut down a lot of trees here. At the time, the landscape was completely different. There was a ton of lumberjacks, and there was no hole. Absolute nightmare. Most of Siberia is permafrost. Trees sort of acted as like a blanket protecting the permafrost from the warming climate. When they were cut down, the permafrost began to melt. It created a river that would cut through more permafrost and expose more of its surface area to the warm air. Then that would also melt, expose more, fall in, and ultimately create a crazy snowball effect that has resulted in a crater that's now more than 200 acres. And it's growing exponentially faster now, as you can see in the 30-year difference between these two photos. I don't know if you really get how insane the scale of this is. Some of the crater's walls are more than 300 feet tall. This low point here has cut all the way down to bedrock, and recent studies have shown that parts of it are receding at 30 feet per year, with acres upon acres of forest just falling in as the ground beneath them turns to liquid. Today it's the largest thermokarst in the world, and its growth shows no signs of stopping. It's a great example of how the planet isn't just made up of individual resources, but is an interconnected system where mismanagement will lead to a butterfly effect of collapse. And if we don't get that through our heads soon, the whole world's gonna go hole up, as they say. They don't say that. If you want more fun stuff to interrupt the nightmare of your doom,
All right, so that was it. So, just based on what you were sharing, right? Add into that what we're doing with the data centers, what humanity's doing with building these data centers that are just extracting resources, and there seems to be, it's happening so quickly. There seems to be no consideration of what the actual impact of building these. Didn't you share last night, Cam, another data center that's like going to be at 5 gig, like 2,200 acres, right? 5 gigawatt.
Yeah, it's one in Louisiana. It's like
In Louisiana, yeah.
massive.
Oh, wait, what's it called?
It's a Meta. It's Meta's data center,
Uh-huh.
and they're
it's
calling it
called-
Hyperion.
Oh.
Like, guys,
Come on.
come on, man.
So, but
That's yeah.
To me-
There's no consideration, it seems.
no,
But even
and-
to a point where it's weird, where there's these ones like, let's say in a more of a desert, arid type climate, and there's like already seemingly limited water, and then now that they're being built there and putting all this money, it's like it doesn't make sense
yeah.
as an investment even.
I have a weird sci-fi conspiracy
gotta hear
theory. I just made it up, but so the elite can sort of predict, because like, okay, one of the big challenges when I share Destiny with people, right, is there's so much in it that's like outside of your normal education
Yeah.
that it seems like it's not necessarily made up, but it's just like wild, you know? But what I've tried to help people understand over time is that that's simply because you haven't learned anything. You know,
Right.
I go back to like this story when I was in high school, and I was telling my friend about relativity theory because I was like obsessed with it when I was in middle school and high school. And I was all these books I read, and I'm like, yeah, when you move towards the speed of light, time slows down and mass is it increases, it gets bigger, whatever. Yeah, I think that's right. And he was like, that sounds crazy. Like you're saying time slows down when you move closer to the speed of light, like time actually slows down. And I told him about the twin paradox, where the one twin goes on the rocket at the speed close to the speed of light, comes back, he's 40 years older than his twin on Earth. I mean, but that is the implication of relativity theory, right? And he was acting like it was some wild, insane thing that, you know, some fringe thing. I'm like, this is Albert Einstein. Like, what did you think he was fucking talking about?
Right.
I'm
Right.
like,
right.
what? So there's just a lot of stuff most people don't know. So you don't think the elite have access to all of the different wild theories that are out there that sound wild to you because you don't know about it, but they know all this stuff. So, okay, so that's my preface. So let's say they've studied all of this and they know that human civilization, and maybe even beyond human civilization, because they all believe in Atlantis and shit. They all believe
Right.
that human civilization as we know it is only one iteration of something.
Yeah.
And there was previous things like Atlantis. Maybe they have different understandings of what that is, but you know, go read Giorgiani's books, you'll see. So they know that there's these cycles that occur where whatever humanity is at that time, conscious life, like destroys itself and has to rebuild. So they're putting these data centers all over the planet. And on one hand, because they want to get that super intelligence to be able to prevent this from happening. But then also they're putting them all over because, you know, you don't know what's going to happen. Is it going to be like a meteor strike or something, like an asteroid? Like you don't know where it's going to happen. So there's kind of like just putting them everywhere and protecting them and all this kind of stuff. Maybe it's going to be a war. Like they don't know what's the thing that's going to happen, right? But what I think is it's going to be the fact that we put data centers everywhere.
Dude, like basically the Isaac Asimov story, where the AI is like trying to prevent the heat death. You
It's
know,
the thing that causes it to happen more rapidly,
Right.
right? So yeah, because that's that thing you played with the hole is a good example of. Well, I mean, you know, look, you can dig a big hole here and it doesn't do anything. And it's like, but when you do it at a certain scale, it's like, look, I can build a data center and it's fine right there. Yeah, but when you build 10,000 of them, is there some other effect that occurs, you know,
Right.
that you haven't considered? It's like you can predict the weather up to a week, but it's a chaotic system. So beyond a week, and Dario points this out in that Machines of Loving Grace, he says it may be the case that even a super intelligence is only marginally better than humans at predicting certain outcomes of certain systems that are chaotic. Because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how much intelligence you have, it's a fundamentally chaotic system. You can't predict beyond a certain point if you understand what a chaotic system is.
Right,
Like,
right, right.
It's like the whole butterfly effect, all that stuff.
That's even another example, like butterfly effect. How many people actually know? They're like, oh yeah, like something about in Texas, if you have a butterfly, and then in Japan it like makes a typhoon. Like they don't actually know what a chaotic system is. But
Right.
all the elite, from the time they're like fucking
They
in
know.
third grade, they've been taught systems thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
Their education
So it's like
is
natural.
very different. It's very,
Yeah.
Dude, I'll tell you a funny story real quick. So, Max and I had to go to Shreveport, right, to do some stuff. So I
To go visit a data center.
No, well,
Go to
we
visit
would
Hyperion.
Hyperion and pay our respects. But anyway, so on the drive there and back, we listened to Century of the Self. We didn't listen to the whole thing. We just listened to parts or like the beginning and talked about it and so forth. And we had to do stuff, but we got through a little bit of it to the point where they were talking about when they got women to smoke, right? Because at the time, women smoking was taboo.
Yeah.
And I was like, I paused it. I'm like, do you understand what he means by taboo? And he starts explaining to me exactly what a taboo is. I'm like, okay, cool. You got that. All right. So like already at 9, he can follow along with this and not get stuck on what's, you know, because that's the part where you would shut down in a certain sense of not knowing what the hell they're talking about. Right.
Right,
So I'd always stop and check like, okay, do you understand what they're explaining? Do you understand what they're explaining here? And then they talked about this point of at the time, so this was the introduction of psychoanalytic theory, okay, prior to the advent of propaganda. Freud was introducing psychoanalytic theory, and they were making this point about how the aristocracy they resisted psychoanalytic theory, because then it's like, hey, tell me about all your problems, all the feelings you're having, and they're like, we don't want to fucking talk about our feelings. And they even said in there, there's a woman explaining it, and she's like, if they had to start talking about all their feelings, the entire society that they were running would collapse.
Yeah.
Part of it just being like, then the peasants would know, like, oh, the Duchess, she has problems, like now it doesn't matter and there's other context, but this is a new unit of time. So back then it was like they had to believe these people were gods. Right. So there was a resistance point. So anyways, so Edward Bernays, he develops, through understanding Freudian psychoanalysis, the unconscious desires and how to tap into a person's emotions, rather than just giving them the facts. If I can tap into like sort of an insecurity you have and associate that with this product, then I can get you to buy into it, whether it's an idea, a movement, a product, whatever. Okay, because it fulfills some psychological deficit that you have, right? For women at the time, it was that they were jealous of male power, right? They didn't have the right to vote. So it was like men had more power in society. And Freud, his analysis part of it was, it stems from the idea that men have a penis and women don't. And so for women, according to his theory, I'm just saying, according to psychoanalysis, women they saw the male penis as the representation of male power. Okay. And so because they understood that symbolism, they were like, the cigarette would essentially become like, you can have a penis. Like, and so not that they would say it like that, but they would find a way to associate that desire to have the male power. Yeah. So they had these women, the suffragettes, go out, and at a certain time, they all started lighting up cigarettes. The press was there, and they were breaking this taboo, first of all. And then second of all, they were saying, like, we're taking this power, and now you had to go along, everyone had to go along with it. Because, well, how can we deny them the right to freedom? Because it was about the torches of freedom, right?
Right.
So when it talked about the male penis power and all that, I was like, do you understand what they're talking about here? Like, I had to give him some context for that whole discussion. And Max goes, yeah, okay, it makes sense what they're saying. He goes, the thing about, the woman, doesn't have the penis and so forth, right? He was like, when I was reading Simone de Beauvoir, she was describing how the girls get that by having dolls. Like, because at a certain age, psychoanalytically, like the girl versus the boy, like he has a penis, the girl has a doll. Mm-hmm. And like, I haven't read the book, but it was just such an interesting point, because like she is addressing in that book at some point anyways, the fact that the whole Freudian psychology stuff, and her saying that the way girls deal with this point is by having a doll. And yeah. I don't have all the context, I haven't read it.
Yeah.
But I was just like, wow. Like, he's like bringing in Simone de Beauvoir, who was Jean-Paul Sartre's like basically girlfriend.
Yeah.
In her like feminist masterwork or whatever, like into the discussion. I was like, holy shit, dude. It was just so cool, because I'm like, oh, that's an interesting point, actually. Like that would take up that point, anyways.
But consider that. That's interesting, because he can read that and see, well, this is what the feminist response to that is. But how many women actually read that?
Exactly.
And understood that, because then they wouldn't fall prey to that trap, Right. And on top of that, it's like the whole point of the penis envy, that's like the shorthand for it, right?
Yeah.
Is it's really just the whole point is like that men can violate women, and they don't have that same,
that part is in there. Yeah, exactly.
But that's really what it boils down to, is that men have the power to violate. And so there's like, it's a hooking on to the viciousness of the mind, basically. It's sort of like when we describe capitalism and the problems with the capitalist mindset and all of that, the real problem is because, okay, go back to in Europe, what was going on in the Middle Ages or whatever. You had this market economy. People were at the stage, as Rushkoff describes it, people were at the stage where you could work a few days a week, and then the rest of the week you didn't have to work. Like you were taken care of. You were good because of how much abundance your land had, how you were trading with other people, and it was kind of the abundance of the society at that time was everybody was like, we got time, we can do things, right? And then the aristocracy, like you were saying, they don't produce anything. They're just like, whoa, hold on. Now you guys are living like us. This is not acceptable. And what?
Because they had all the time.
Right.
Like everybody else had to work all the time so that the aristocracy could just be at court and like going and listening to symphonies and, you know, there may be some things they had to do to manage affairs and so forth, but they could get people to do that stuff. But they had all the time and everyone else had none of the time. And it was like sort of a, hold on a second, if you guys start having the time, I'm going to have less time. I don't want that to have to equal out.
Right. And it's just that point within the mind that's like, fuck that, I want to be at the top. It's the analogous point that is being made with this, you know, Freudian analytical thing, but he's ascribing it to the penis, right? But it's really just the point of like, I want to be at the top. That's all it boils down to. That's it. In a nutshell, all across the spectrum is the one who says, I want to be at the top. Everybody's got it in their mind.
The
you
tip.
Know? I want to be the tip.
Is okay, on the dollar bill, you know, they have the pyramid with like the capstone separated. Is that a symbol for circumcision?
Ooh, is it? It's the tip.
Tip of the pyramid.
Yeah, I wanted
Actually,
to go.
is it separated on the dollar bill?
It is separated. It is above.
That's I have literally never thought about that before.
Yeah.
It's literally like there's the pyramid, and you have the elite being like, we're always gonna be separated up here. You're never ever gonna get, and it's like showing you like this money system that's been created, which is represented here on the dollar bill, is a pyramid structure. You're going to be at the bottom. You're going to build this whole thing, and we're going to be up here floating above always, and you'll never be able to cross that gap. It's designed that way on purpose. No matter what you try to do, we'll adjust it so that you always go back to the bottom. Like, it says it right. It's so wild that they put that on there.
That's the Tower of Babel, isn't it? It's like you're building to get to here, and you'll never reach us.
So the Tower of Babel, it's such a weird story because on the one hand, why not humanity work together?
Right.
But is what humanity's building that pyramid so that the elite can only be on the top?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, dude,
it's very
what
clear.
the fuck is that?
Yeah.
It's like we're above you, we're watching you do everything, and we get to be the I. We get to be the I am. We get to experience the leisure of experience and consciousness, and you have to do the physical work. We're separate from you.
Go back to it, Mitch.
It's a representation of the mind.
When you look at that, you know what else is interesting to me anyway, is that the pyramid is in 3D, and then the eye is just 2D. It's just it's flat.
And it's a triangle.
Yes. It looks
Which
like
goes back to Plato.
It's almost like it's looking in from another dimension. Like it's not.
Oh yeah,
you know what
dude.
I mean?
Oh,
That's
it's
crazy.
like, imagine it's like a cutout.
Yes.
And
that's what I'm saying.
there's like an
It's like
eye, it's like you're
looking
seeing
into
someone
this plane.
behind it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, that's wild. I never thought about that before. It's like God's in there like watching you. Like, what are you guys doing? I'm peeking in.
What's interesting too is it looks like a right eye based on the eyebrow. You see how it looks? It's not
The arch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you're
It
saying.
looks more like it's the right eye looking in.
I don't know.
Is that the left? Because the
Oh, I guess I don't.
corner
or
of the
actually
eye.
no, maybe I think I have it backwards.
I have no
Where does the pointy part go? Is it on?
I thought.
is it
I
the
thought
more
this
rounded
would
part
be
on
the
this one?
right
Wait,
edge
this-
Like,
Is this
like
an
if I'm
Asian eye or is
is
this
there
a,
right?
Let's look up
No,
picture.
no, no.
Look
It's
up
American.
a just like a portrait.
yeah? Look at the Mona Lisa. Oh, okay.
Mm.
It looked more like it was this.
The pointy
side of
part
the
is
eye.
on the side. So go
On the
back.
left side.
Yeah,
On the outside.
on that it's on the outside. So the pointy part is on the outside.
Yeah.
So go back to the dollar. The pointy part's on the outside. So that would be the right eye.
That's. It looks like a right eye to me. I mean,
Yeah, that makes
I'm
sense.
Sure
That-
there's
no,
some
no, I think
symbols
you're
and
right. I
shit
think
to
you're
it.
right. I think you're right. That would be the right eye. I think that makes sense.
And what's this MDCCLXXVI? So
It's a year. 1,000. Let's see. D is 500. CC is 200. So 700. L is 50. XX is 20. So 50. So
1776.
76. So it says 1776. Yeah.
and then it's
Yeah.
New Order of the Ages.
And what is the Anuit?
Anu.
New Order of the Ages.
What is Anu?
What's the Anuit Keptis?
A New Order of the. Oh yeah.
No,
Okay.
that's
So
the- that's the bottom.
Novus Order Seclorum is the New Order of the Ages. Let's see. Anuit Coeptus. What's that mean?
Yeah, there, that one.
He Anu has favored our undertakings.
And he's looking at us.
He is favored.
Dude, how has no one ever pointed this out before? Like what you just said about the fact that it's flat. I literally, it's not just floating above it. There's literally no capstone.
Right.
It's a cutout in the sky, like from another dimension, and someone's in there out behind it. But it also represents like your experience yourself of like being inside here and like looking out. Like,
right.
there's like,
Yeah.
that's some crazy weird stuff. The Eye of Providence.
It
Go back
literally
down.
says Anu on the fucking dollar bill.
It does. Go scroll down a little bit. Hold on. It appears directly above the Eye of Providence, atop an unfinished pyramid symbolizing divine approval for the creation of the United States. There's got to be more to that story, dude. It's such a weird. Why not just put like a rose or something? Like just some normal thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's interesting. You know what else is really interesting about that is like when you consider how the founding fathers were not like explicitly religious in that sense,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then they're putting that he has favored our undertakings on the dollar bill.
But
Right.
when did that dollar bill get created?
Definitely.
I
Can
think
you
it's
find that out?
1780 It says. I thought it said 1782. When was the dollar bill design created?
When was the pyramid put on?
Yeah,
the
for
dollar
all
bill?
that we're not Christian talk,
Yeah.
and there is no being God like Thomas Jefferson style, they still are putting that on there, which is so weird.
Okay, the unfinished pyramid, all seeing eye, was added to the dollar bill in 1935. So fuck that.
Oh,
Okay.
what?
Look at the original.
1935.
1935 was when the pyramid.
Look that
and
up. Look that
all-seeing
up.
eye.
Okay, so that actually makes sense.
When was Jekyll Island?
When was, dude? That's like a boomer search.
1910. They had the
Ah.
thing.
Yeah.
You know,
okay,
the
so the
powwow?
Federal Reserve is 1910. 1935. Okay, think about
But
1935.
look that up. Look that up while he's talking, Mitch.
What was
When-
happening? Type in when was the pyramid added to the dollar bill?
1935. By
Okay, so what was happening
LDR?
in 1935? We were just beginning basically World War II, or World War II was beginning in Europe, you know? Hitler was coming into power. This is just the
Yeah,
ramping
click
up.
on Eye of Providence. Click on that. You might have already looked at this. Oh, that's. Whoa. What was
is that?
that?
Yeah,
Eye of God.
It's
In
on
a
a
chapel.
chapel.
Apps Chapel. Can you look that up? What's the Apps Chapel? What's that about?
Dude, this is some live stream level shit, man.
Yeah, right.
I need to go into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, forget about that. That's
Okay.
some fucking chapel. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
okay, the Eye of Providence.
Cathedral Basilica. In the Cathedral Basilica of the Assumption.
It also features prominently atop the original publication of France's Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen. Click on that, will you?
The rights of man and the citizen.
Is that which
It-
part
through
of the
the
French
eyes of the
Revolution was
all-seeing.
that from? That's weird because they were
Hey, there's your boy, Thomas.
they were
Tommy J.
revolting against the monarchy, but they were totally like atheistic. And then there was another revolution to bring back some of the church part. And then there was another one right after that. It just all happened very quickly, dude. The history of the French Revolution is insane. And then Napoleon came about like right after that.
Jeez.
Individualism. Dude. And it's like the Eye of Horus.
Mm.
Can you look that up? Eye of Horus.
Oh yeah.
It's got to have something to do with that.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, ancient Egypt pyramid.
Eye of Ra. Represents well-being, healing, and protection. Mythical conflict between God and with his rival Set, in which Set tore out or destroyed one or both of Horus's eyes. It is weird though. Why is it only one eye?
Well, so this is the left eye of Horus. The right eye is the eye of God, eye of Ra. So you got the right eye looking down as the eye of Providence. I don't know.
Some weird stuff, man. Yeah, I just never saw it from that perspective that it was actually two-dimensional.
Yeah, they were obsessed. I remember, Drake, you probably know more than I do because you did the tours in New York City. But back in the day, they would just go raid these tombs and temples and all this shit from Egypt and then bring it over to New York. So they
Oh, yeah, I
have
saw
like these
that movie.
obelisks in Central Park, and they're all over DC as well. And they just like
One
were
eye.
obsessed with. Yeah, I don't understand the full significance of it, but Cam,
And then
one of these
you always
live
got the
streams, dude,
celebrities doing that shit.
Yeah.
what is the latitude of
Oh boy.
the Great Pyramid and speed
No,
of
no.
light? I'm just saying, Cameron, this would be a great live stream topic.
You know, the obelisks, those are interesting, right? Because
The latitude of the Great Pyramid of Giza matches the speed of light in a vacuum, sharing the exact same digits: 299792458.
It's just a coincidence, it says.
Oh,
Well, yes,
Okay.
it is a coincidence.
it's like that's a lot of numbers to be a coincidence. Anyway,
yeah.
It's only a coincidence if you don't consider that reality is programmed,
exactly.
right? If you did, if you consider that, you'd be like, oh, well, that makes sense. Like that there would be some kind of connections there.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally the Great Pyramid of Giza is what's on the dollar bill, and they're literally saying the eye is coming through. It's a triangle of light.
It's called AI.
And you were just talking about the speed of light, Cameron, where if you go the speed of light, you can affect time.
There you go. Simulation discovered.
Unlock.
We unlocked the simulation.
Yeah.
Dude, I know I say this a lot, but like when you study Destiny, you realize like how advanced it actually is. The more context you get about the world just from the stuff that's available, then you realize how advanced Destiny actually is. The less knowledge you know, you think it's just some random stuff and you can't process it. But the more I study, it becomes even more obvious. It becomes even more clear. And I mean, yeah, we kind of got off topic from the point of them building the data centers to prevent some kind of apocalypse, but it's very likely that that's what's creating. You know, I was watching something last night on the stream. They were talking about the data center that Kevin O'Leary is building in Utah,
Yeah.
and it's going to take up like 16% of the northern arm of the Great Salt Lake with solar panels. So they have the data center itself, and they have to take another 40,000 whatever acres of the lake for solar panels.
Of the lake? So what do you mean?
I think it's like they're putting it on the surface. You can look it up. I didn't really understand the context because we were watching a video of a guy talking about this.
What?
I was just looking into the numbers of what percentage of the lake does that represent. But for some reason they're using natural gas and then also solar, but they have to put it on the lake or something.
Dude, that's so crazy. There's that guy Clayton Tucker. He's running for like agricultural some position in Texas, so I get a lot of his stuff in my feed. He talks about a lot of these farmers he's talking to where their cattle are like having trouble with birthing, and eggs or chickens are laying less eggs. Kids are developing heart murmurs. Adults are getting early onset dementia, like from just being within a few miles of these data centers. So they know at some point, as these get built, the people are going to be fucking pissed. But potentially the whole point is to create a total surveillance state so you can't speak out about it.
They're building a data center here in Florida literally across the street. I was trying to say street as well.
Of what
Across the street.
Across the street.
Across the street from an elementary school in like West Palm. And
No.
literally.
They're like, we got to get some intelligence in this area. Okay.
Okay, which brings me to a comment that Keith had made a while back. What about AI is planned to be obsolete? What impact will it have when it fails? It's a great question.
Well, the servers themselves have to be replaced like every 3 years.
100%. That,
Yeah,
but
It's like your
also-
laptop. You can't have
fuck?
the same laptop for 30 years.
No,
Like, what the fuck?
but also they're with that, which okay, if you just think about that in itself, that is a tremendous amount of resources that have to be, gone through and refound wherever and paid for every couple of years. But even if it were the case that those remained for 30 years or whatever, for 10 years even, then the problem would still remain that like what's failing is education itself, intelligence itself, like people having any intelligence, which has, you alluded to this earlier, when you no longer have a master craftsman, then they can't do anything for themselves. So now they have to rely on the system.
Yeah, you don't even have, okay, well, this one person knows how to make shoes. They don't know anything else. But this other person knows how to raise chickens. So at least you can trade. Now, nobody knows how to do any of it. So they're like, man, we should create something that knows how to do all that stuff. Instead of just, well, they don't know how to just educate human beings. But clearly human beings are capable of that stuff.
Yeah.
But instead of investing in that, it's like, well, we're just going to build the replacement.
Guys, it's almost like it's our destiny to do what we're doing and educate humanity.
When you look at all the points, you realize, oh, that's the responsibility we
It's
have.
literally our
otherwise, what will happen to humanity?
Right.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
The elite are literally that little triangle. They're just building that little triangle for themselves so they can fly off somewhere else.
And they can peek in on
Well,
us.
then Douglas Rushkoff was the one talking about that.
Oh boy,
There's some term for it, the cloud of
the
satellite dust.
Kessler syndrome.
Kessler syndrome.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
essentially, so how many satellites are even up there?
I think it was like
There's
15,000
15,000 that are tracked currently.
tracked, which means active,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
guess. And then there's probably a lot more, or some amount more
Of
that are
these,
not.
12 to 13,000 are active and functioning. The rest are defunct equipment
Okay.
that remain in space.
They
So
just
they
leave
leave
them
it
up
up.
there.
Yeah.
They just fucking leave them up there.
So what is
Like,
Kessler syndrome? It is a
You can share it if you want.
theoretical scenario.
I mean,
Yeah,
it makes
I'll share.
sense.
Dude,
If you
I mean-
consider you have a bunch of
Okay.
trash. So
So,
okay,
look
tell
at the
tell what the scenario is.
Okay. So I'll just read this one. It's a theoretical scenario in which the density of objects in low Earth orbit becomes so high that collisions between them trigger a runaway chain reaction.
Okay, basically, let me give the simpler version of this because that didn't explain anything. You have a bunch of satellites that are floating in space, right? And then they start colliding with one another. And then when they collide, then they create debris. That debris is not tracked. So then that debris collides into other things and it creates more debris. And so even if you have the debris that's the size of like, I don't know, like a little nut or bolt, if you imagine you're flying a plane and you get a nut or a bolt that goes through one of the wings or through the engine, that's a big fucking problem. That's a big deal. Or it goes through the fucking windshield and hits your fucking pilot. That's a big fucking problem, right?
Yeah, it's enough
So-
to take down a whole thing. Right?
Or
So
even
you-
if it doesn't take it down, it just damages it so it can't function anymore. And now it's another piece of floating debris, plus all the stuff that came off of it. And then that thing can go crash into something.
Right, exactly. So it's creating a chain reaction. It's pretty obvious. Like, and then the other thing is they leave the trash up there partly because they can't track every fucking nut and bolt that's up there, right? But the other part is they were just leaving defunct things up there anyway because they're like, it's gonna cost us too much. Like, think about, okay, we live in a capitalist system where they only want to do things that make them money. Oh, well, our satellite's down. Should we go up there and spend like another, however much $1 million just to go
Same
up
reason
there?
they pollute the ocean.
And then
get
they make
the-
you feel bad for not returning your cart at the grocery store.
Right. You didn't put that in the recycling bin? That gallon of milk, that plastic jug, you didn't put that in the recycling bin? Shame on you. You're the reason why this world is like dying. Like, fuck off. Fuck you. Like, that's crazy. There's another
So
thing.
can you
Yeah.
look up real quick? Did Elon apply for a different orbit for their satellites? I'm curious if that's like a real thing. In that book Delta V,
Yeah.
there's a hotel in space called Hotel Leo, right, for like the low Earth orbit. It's pretty cool.
Yes, SpaceX recently applied for new orbital configurations. The
Why?
company filed an application with the FCC to launch up to 1 million solar-powered satellites into low Earth
1
orbit.
Million?
Fuck. What the?
So we're at
Fuck.
15,000
1
currently.
million?
To operate orbital data centers for artificial intelligence.
Yo.
What the fuck?
Okay. Can you do the show more?
Dude,
Did they
if-
explain why?
if we were not trapped before,
Ask
on
the AI.
this planet,
Ask the AI why another orbit. No, this isn't saying anything that he applied for a new orbit.
new orbital configurations. Why did he apply for a new orbital?
Yeah, why not just the same orbital? I'm curious what.
configurations?
Dude, you guys got to read Delta V next. Like, it just, when you have all that context, you're like, oh, I see what's going on here.
Jesus, I don't need all that. Thanks. Okay, SpaceX applied for new orbital configurations specifically to optimize solar energy absorption and compute load balancing for its proposed 1 million satellite orbital data center system. Okay, lower
Orbital
30
data
degree
centers.
inclinations orbit. It doesn't say anything about.
Bypass. Okay, just ask, does it have anything to do with the Kessler syndrome? Just to see what it says. It may not, per se, have anything to do with it. Rushkoff kind of seemed to imply that's what it had to do with. But it may just be to prevent the Kessler syndrome, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Oh,
Has
shit.
everything to do. Everything to do. with
Oh,
the
okay. I stand corrected. Sorry.
Serving as the central point of fierce backlash from scientists, competitor companies, and international space agencies. Okay, that's
So they
interesting.
got a
that it
monopoly
didn't
over
say
Earth
anything.
orbit. Got it.
That's interesting.
Wait. The highest tier reaches up to 2,000. At this altitude, the Earth's atmosphere is too thin to provide natural orbital decay. If a satellite dies at 2,000, it cannot burn up in the atmosphere naturally and will remain a collision hazard. So he actually wants to put them there so that they'll burn up if they
If they fail.
Interesting.
So what does that mean then? So if it burns up in the atmosphere, that's not gonna is that gonna create more carbon? Is that gonna create more debris in our in Earth?
Dude, they're gonna cover our Earth with floating data centers.
This sounds so fucking insane.
If you were Elon, wouldn't you be like, I'm about to be the king of the fucking planet?
dude, okay.
And he's gonna
Think
have
about
they're
there's
gonna
a
they're gonna
million.
talk to the robots that he's building. He's gonna build 1 billion robots and 1 million data centers floating around to communicate with the robots.
If there's a million of
They're all
these
gonna sound like
things,
fucking Grok.
you are going to see you're going to see them in the sky. There's no, especially if it's in low
You can
Earth
already
orbit.
see them in the sky, and there's not even that many.
I'm just saying, you're like, it's going to be like very evident all the time that you're being watched. Like, think about the psychological impact of that. You
I have
know?
Providence.
You want to hear my joke, right?
Go ahead.
So, you know, like, especially like the flat earth people, when you read the Bible, right? So you have
Yeah.
God created the world, right? And he created a firmament
Uh-huh.
around the earth, right?
Yeah.
There's like the heaven above and the earth below, right? And I'm like, the tech people are literally doing everything in reverse.
Yeah.
They're literally building a firmament around the earth so
Right.
that way God can exist.
Dude, literally. That's insane. Wow.
You know, also though, like that point that Jason Calcanis was making about, oh, Anthropic believes they're so, they're so narcissistic or whatever, they believe they can create God. I'm like, dude, all of them fucking think that. Like, it's like they're trying to pin it on Anthropic for some reason because Anthropic is somehow in some way aligning with the Pope, which is about regulation. They're afraid of regulatory capture. They're afraid of the government deciding because then the government can slow you down what you can do.
Yeah.
But all of these guys studied Ray Kurzweil and all this shit. Like, we've been doing enough. We know, like, okay, I don't think there's one single person in all that AI stuff that isn't like, we're building the singularity. But if you look up Jason Calcanis, he's invested in AI too.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude.
Yeah.
Um,
What was the Peter Thiel thing that he's moving to Argentina? Was there any more on that?
Apparently. I don't know. Because again, it's like New York Times. So I don't know how much of it is just like sort of propaganda. But apparently, the rumor, anyways, is that he is currently relocated to Argentina. And he's got his kids in some private school there.
kids. He's got kids.
Yeah.
I thought he was.
I was surprised about that too.
It's like how Sam Altman has kids. It's like, what is this?
I can understand Sam Altman having kids. Like, I kind of get it. You know, he's kind of that sort of,
He's that kind of gay.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. But when I found out Peter Thiel, I was like, what?
He seems more of the like, just trying to fuck. kinda
Yeah,
gay.
like the hardcore, you
Yeah,
know,
it's-
like, I don't know.
yeah.
It was just so, it's like me and my husband have 2 children. And it's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So weird. Like, who's the mom?
the
It's got.
No, there's no mom, just 2 hardcore dads.
Yeah.
With our loving with our children. Like, I
Also,
don't know.
we're-
It's like I just trying to imagine like Peter
Going
Thiel
on this
comes
tour about
home.
the Antichrist.
Do you think those kids are just growing up in like a totally weird cyber controlled environment? And the thing is, apparently I was reading he only lets his kids have like at maximum like
1
2
hour
hours
a
of
week.
screen time
Screen
time yeah, like per week or something.
Yeah.
I was showing it to Max and he was
Yeah.
like, yeah, but he's also blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not showing this to prove something. I was just showing you like the people who build all this shit don't even let their kids use it. What does that tell you? They know it's
Yeah.
not actually good for you, you know.
Right.
Of course they don't know other things, but you know, whatever.
Yeah. It's interesting that connection that you were making earlier of like, okay, so they are aware of all of this shit. I'm sure there is something with the eye of providence that is very occult. That's like some because I was trying to look up, where was the first instance of this being used, and the only thing that I could bring up was from like 1535 in the Christian Renaissance, right? And as a painting, that painting basically.
Look up no, Descartes was 1600s, I think.
So I'm trying to see, like, I'm sure there's some occult text that's not mainstream that probably brings this up before that, and it's like, describing,
Yeah.
all of that. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is just because we know that all these things have meaning, and that the people who study this, like, when you look at you look at that Jesse Michaels, I think that's the guy's name, that Giorgiani interview that he did with, was it Jesse Michaels?
Yeah.
And he starts bringing in, this guy studied this guy and that guy and this, and these are the conclusions that this person came to, and about this guy, but you don't know about his conclusions, and it's how it's all intertwined, to the extent that if you actually had the time, I've been asking this question to people, Cam. I don't know if you'll like it. I like it. I've been asking this question to people because how much do you have to make as an income to be in the top 1% of the world, right? $34,000. And you're making more than 99% of the world. And then do you know how much it costs to imprison somebody for a year, like one prisoner per year in the US?
What?
It's like at least the average, according to the Federal Bureau of, I don't know, I don't even know, but basically the incarceration or some shit like that, 36,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it costs us more than 99% of the world makes to imprison somebody. Okay, so I've been asking people, okay,
yeah,
I
I get the implication here.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I was gonna say, if you're making the average income of the bottom 99%, your lifestyle is equivalent to the prison population.
Dude.
Like, yeah, what we can do with what you make? We can put somebody in a prison, and that's about it.
Well, okay, so that's the average across the all the U.S.
Yeah.
In some states, like in California, they spend $100,000 per person.
I bet they do.
It's fucking ridiculous, right?
You didn't have to tell me it was California. I could have told you that.
For what? Like, because I know they have then these prisoner work camps.
Dude, you want to see something crazy? Okay, so
I don't understand the economics of prisons. Can you explain it to me?
What do you mean the economics of prison?
So
what specifically?
so the state of California spends $100,000 on a prisoner per year.
Yeah.
Is that going into like make it? It's like the staff are paid. They got lights on.
Right. It's not like going to the prison.
It's not going to
like,
him.
what is
Just if you divide by the number of prisoners, this is how much money they're putting into that system.
Right.
where
so
where does it go?
Yeah, probably like so and so's
Administrative.
nephew has a fucking
Yeah.
food supply company, blah
Got
blah
it.
blah, and like
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
California's corrupt as shit, so they're probably.
But check this out, because I wanted to look up. You guys have heard of man, I think the prison is called Halud, right?
Shai Halud.
Let me see.
Is it called Hyperion?
Halden prison. That's it, Halden. Okay, sorry, I got carried away. Let me just show you this, Mitch. You'll love this. I saw actually a little preview of this. So this is the prison in Norway,
Oh yeah.
and man, I think like it's got like
what,
these little.
what am I seeing? I don't get it.
You're seeing images of a prison. Let me see.
Why
Halden
some
prison.
of it look like a penthouse and some of it looks like a school.
Yeah.
Modern
Okay, hold
school.
on. Aerial view.
Looks like your average art museum in Houston.
Why can't I spell aerial? How do you spell aerial?
AER.
AL.
Whatever. All right. So this is the prison, the way it looks from the sky.
Can you click into it? It's kind of small. Ooh.
It looks like some nice apartment buildings.
Yeah, it looks like
Some of
the
it-
modern apartments fucking
Right.
everywhere.
But then inside it has man, like it's got these really nice centers, but I wanted to show
Whenever somebody's prison sentence comes to you know, the end, everybody like holds like a funeral for them of like, oh man, I'm sorry you got to go back.
Is this an ad? Is this an
I've come
unrelated
to
ad?
one of the most unusual prisons in the world,
This is a spa, it's a holiday resort.
with a very relaxed approach to relationships.
Get visits 2 times a week.
They can have sex.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you won't get me on the floor. And every home comfort you can think of. Actually, it's better than the outside world. There's even a waiting.
They've got a studio in the prison. Like a music studio where they can produce music. They've got, you know, like the dentist chair, like
Oh, what?
yeah. So at this prison, I think they spend about 100,000 per prisoner, but like it actually goes to the prisoners, right?
Yeah, the prisons in California don't look like that.
No, they're not doing that. But anyway,
You get like vacation weeks. You could just leave the prison for like 2 weeks at a time.
No, it's like it's a government contract, so like some bag of artificial meat mush costs like $30 a bag or something because they're
Right.
just basically laundering money probably.
right. Which in California, to that point, they did something where you know how they had like some homeless programs where they're like, you know, we're trying to get people to not be homeless anymore, and so we will buy a defunct hotel. That's what they do. They buy a defunct hotel and then they turn it into an apartment for the homeless, right? And then literally within a year, there's nobody living in it, but they've spent millions, tens of millions of dollars on this hotel, and there's still money funneling into it, and it's not helping the homeless problem at all. And then you look at who owns the thing, and it's like some nephew, like you said, of some governor or some shit like that, you know, some congressman. And that's literally every time they try to implement this idea of we're going to get homeless people into a building and, you know, we're going to provide for them so they're no longer homeless. It happens exactly the same way every time. They overpay for the building. They're paying for services that aren't even happening. And some nephew of somebody makes a shit ton of money, and then you never hear about them again.
They're just using the empathy that they have there for the homeless people to basically move a bunch of money around. That's all
Right.
it is. Like take
Because-
money out of the taxes or whatever they get it from and give it to some private corporation, basically.
Because who even looks into, I mean, other than like, you know, these reporters, these random
Whitney Webb.
reporters. But like, yeah, nobody listens to Whitney. But like the average person isn't looking into any of this stuff where they're going like, you know, oh, what does this homeless program actually do? They don't care. They just give to it. Oh, that sounds really nice. Yeah, we're gonna give to the homeless.
The
Okay,
average
yeah,
person-
I'll sign up
People
on that.
don't look into fucking anything.
No.
You just take
So they don't even
everything for
know.
granted, yeah.
So here's what I was saying. Just this point of like, because people don't know about things, I'm like, you know how much we spend on the average prisoner? We spend more than that, right? Would you take if I know this is a crazy question, but if somebody were to offer you $34,000 a year to put your child in a cell, but the catch is they're not allowed to, well, the catch is they're in a cell for the year.
Catches there in prison.
And they're not allowed to learn anything for that year. Would you take that deal? Right?
No, of course not.
Of course not. Okay, but you're sending them to a school where they learn nothing. And I mean that even okay.
Not that they learn nothing. They learn
Less than
the
that.
habits. They learn the fucking cultural
prison habits.
brain rot. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Go back just a little bit more, right? Because if we're looking at even if you look at the nation's report card, you see that's the education level. That's where it's going. It's just like, oh, off the cliff.
If the nation were a child, they're not getting free pizza at Pizza Hut this year.
Oh, fuck no. Fuck no.
They're not getting that free game at Blockbuster.
The nation would be going to bed without dinner. That's what would be happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would be having a parent-teacher conference.
That's right. But even before that, though, here's the point that I'm making. is you go back, let's say 30 years ago, or throughout the nation, however we're educating children, why is it that the average person doesn't know all the things that like the elite know? Why is it that they don't have access, or they don't have the time to go and research and find out, oh, Thomas Jefferson wasn't a fucking Christian, like, you know, like all this stuff, just all these things that we are discovering and learning, and that we're able to put together and go, wow, if people knew this, you know, like the whole flat earth idea is, if people just knew, right? But what I'm saying is, why is it that we have a system where nobody fucking knows?
That's the real question. It's not
That's
so
the
much
real
if
question.
they knew, it's like, why don't they know?
Why don't they know? Because we've been put into this cell, and that's been the case. Like, just go back as far as the education system has existed. That's been the case. Period. End of story.
Hey, check this out. So last night, after I finished my stream, I went back over to the house, and the older two kids were still awake. And lately, Max has become very focused on like playing the piano. And it kind of started with when we watched Star Wars together, and then he would try to play the Star Wars, like that dun 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 dun, you know, that whole thing. And then he got to the point where he could just play it very easily, right?
Yeah.
And then I think through that he started to develop more of just a kind of interest in playing the piano. And then, you know, and Katie's over there all the time, so she's probably like introducing things and so forth. So then he's like learning to play Fur Elise, but he's not like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, it's totally his own like point.
Yeah.
So there's no like, okay, sit down for your lesson. If you do that, he's like, no, I'm doing something else. He'll just go up and randomly play it, and then he gets better at it, right? And then he'll get stuck, so like we'll come over and show him something or whatever. So then he got interested. I showed him one day like Ode to Joy. So then he's been playing that, and then I looked up some sheet music, and it has like, you know, the melody, and it's like some very simplified version of it, and then it has like the chords on the bass. So like last night, because he was able to play the whole, you know, basic melody of Ode to Joy from beginning to end. So then I was accompanying him on the chords, and so we're working together to like get the timing right and everything. And then Seneca saw that. So this was before, this is like right before dinner. Katie was like, guys, it's time for dinner. It's time for dinner. I'm like, well, hold on, one more time. We're going to do it one more time. We're going to do it one more time. We almost got it right that time. You know? So anyway, so then after the stream, I came back to the house, and Seneca was like, hey, can I do some of that song? So I'm showing her like, dun, 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 dun. And it was so interesting observing, because she would be like, dun, 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 dun. No, like, you know, like that process you go through. You ever played the piano or an instrument, like where you know what to do, you understand, but you don't do it, and you're like, it's a frustrating learning process. You have to just push through. So I'm sitting there with her while she's learning all that. So by the end of the night, she's just using one finger, but she got through where I can do the duet with her. I play the chords and she does the thing, to where like she was able to do the whole thing like consistently, right?
Yeah.
And there was a certain point where we had the digital piano in the kitchen right now, because Max was so interested in doing that stuff. But then Seneca and I went, and he was on that one. We went and sat, Seneca and I, on the studio piano we have. And we're sitting there and we're practicing it together, and I'm showing her where she's making a mistake or whatever, and we keep doing it. And I was sitting there in that moment of like, oh, this is cool. I'm sitting with my child, like, teaching, yes, but also they're learning. It's not like I'm just forcing them to do it. It's more of like that they're interested, so I'm helping them learn. And actually right before that, she was asking me about, because she noticed when I was playing with Max, I had my phone and I had the sheet music, because I was trying to learn the chords to play. So I would be like, wait, what was it again? And I would go back and look at the sheet music and be like, oh, that's right, because I can read sheet music. And Seneca was like, hey, how do you read sheet music? Like, what does that mean? Like, because when I look at it, I don't understand any of it. And I was like, well, it's kind of a language similar to like when you're reading a book, right? So because I know the basics of it, I can look at it and figure out, okay, these are the notes, that's the rhythm. So then I sat down with her on a piece of paper and drew like the 5 lines of a staff. And I was like, I can't explain everything. It's actually quite complex. But let me give you the very basics first, right? So I just showed her like each line and space represents a note. How that specific one translates to what key on the piano. And I told her about the difference between treble and bass, so she understands in another context the lines represent a different note, right? Because in the bass, it's not, if you try to read it like treble, it's different notes.
Yeah.
So that she, at least she would know later, like, okay, it's not like this is exactly what these notes are. It depends on the clef that you're in,
Right.
So we did that, and then I didn't even get into talking about like what the notes represent in terms of time and so forth, right? But then we went back to the piano, and then I was showing her, okay, so where is this note, right? So in other words, we were just sitting doing all that, and I was like, why would you want to automate this away?
Yeah.
Not to say like I need to hold her back so that I can have an experience, but at the same time, like I can do this part with her.
It would be like, it's like, oh, you could watch your child take their first steps, or you could put them in daycare and they could watch your child take their first steps. You know?
Yeah.
And
I'm not
Peter
saying you
Thiel and sent him to a boarding school.
that's kind of my point. Like, I'm not saying you should completely limit your child to you just based on, well, I want to be the one that does everything for them. I'm not saying that, but you can see the other extreme polarity, which is I want to optimize this child. So you just put them into all the different points, and it's like you as a parent never really spend any time with them, really. Like, you know, maybe there's an argument for that at some level, because they say, well, then you just have the free time with them or something, right? But what are you doing in this free time? Like, just go visit a park? Because from my perspective, the free time is sitting and doing the learning, like, because then you start, it was cool because with Max and Seneca, I'm like, we're having to work together as a team where I'm playing the chords and I have to listen to her, and then she has to start over and realize she can't just keep playing right away because she got to wait for me to get ready again, and we have to communicate. So there's like there's a sort of a development that you have like working together with somebody.
Yeah.
So there's, I don't know, it was really clear to me, that point of just having that ability to interact with your kids, and if you just send them off to go do things, what is even the point?
Right.
You know, and then you doing all that so you can have free time later to do what? Just to go sit at a cafe and enjoy a coffee? That's less interesting than sitting down and learning the piano together, for example.
Yeah.
Right? You're actually doing some real process there.
Even the idea of like, okay, what would you do in your free time? Is, don't you want to talk to each other? Don't you want to like have a conversation? Like, but isn't what you're doing, like, for instance, what you were talking about with watching the Century of the Self,
Right.
Like, which is, just for context, it's a very intellectual, you know, it's Adam Curtis, you know, documentarian, where he's like getting into the nitty gritty of like, this is what's going on, and he's not dumbing it down, you know, and so to be able to watch that with your 9-year-old and then stop, and you're not just watching it all the way through, which is what other people would do, and then like expect like, oh, you didn't understand. Oh,
Yeah, like
okay,
just sit and watch passively, and then we'll get to the end of it.
right, and then we'll talk. No, it's like you're pausing it, and you do this even with me when I would come visit you. I remember when I would come visit in Houston, like we would be listening to an audio, a Bernard audio, and then like you'd pause it and be like, and do you see what he means when he says this? And I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. Like I didn't consider that. Like that was not a part that I had listened to before, you know. And we're having a whole, like, we listened to like 2 minutes and we're having a 30-minute discussion,
Right.
you know, based on that. And the significance of that is like, that is the moment, that is the conversation, that is the, like, you're in communion with your child. You're like actually having developing a relationship and showing them how to think and really understanding their perspective and their approach to things, and they're able to understand you. And it's like, that is, you can't automate that and get the same result. It's not possible. It's not possible, because it would be like, you know what it's like? I don't know if this is lost on you know, me saying this, but it's like when you're baking, right? Or you're cooking or something. I'll make it super simple. It's like if you cook your food and you don't season it and you only throw on salt at the end, yeah, you can taste the salt, but it's way fucking better when you're like salting it throughout
Yeah.
and it penetrates through, and then you eat it and it's like it's just so fucking juicy. It's like you can taste all the flavor versus like you can taste that it has no flavor and it's just got a little bit of salt on top. It's like it's
Been doing
completely
it wrong
different.
all these
Surface
years.
level.
Just saying, Rich. You know, there's an art to it. No, but it's that's
That would actually be cool. Like as a kid, I mean,
You would have someone sitting there explaining it to you as you do it, for example.
yeah. Like I had a few times with my parents where we would like make something together, but it wasn't like I guess I didn't experience the significance of it. But those are those like cool moments where you can actually learn and teach together and grow together.
yeah.
This morning, before I came over for us to start the podcast, Caius comes in from outside and he's got a potato. And he's like, look, I found a potato in the ground. Like, not found it, but like, he's like, I got a potato because we have a whole row of potatoes growing.
Mhm.
And Katie was like, yeah, it's probably time to pull them up because otherwise they'll probably at this point just start going bad or whatever. So then he was like, okay. So he goes and grabs like a little basket and he goes out there. And for like 5 minutes, I'm watching him just like pull up a potato plant. He's out there by himself, potato plant. He starts looking at the roots. He pulls some potatoes off and he's like, and he puts them in the basket and then he's like looking in the ground. You can see him and he's like finding another one. And then after a while, he like goes and sees another plant. He goes and grabs and pulls that one up. I'm like that's, I mean, he's 4.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so, there's more in that than just like, let me send my kid to piano lessons so that they can perform the piano,
Right.
you know, or whatever the thing.
And then they
like,
fucking hate it too.
right.
Dude, yeah. It's you said something earlier, Mitch, that was like you didn't see the significance of it at that time. It's like it's not even about making it significant. It's like being able to as the parent, like being able to appreciate that and like and having that relationship with your child where that you can do you know how many parents that I come into contact with who believe that they cannot teach their child anything? You know, Cam, right? Like they seriously believe like, oh no, I could not possibly, like maybe they're a fucking engineer, you know, but they're like, I can't teach my child math. I just can't. It's like you don't even have a relationship with your child actually.
The child is not
working
even
relationship.
curious. Like, let me ask you a question. If I said to you, well, what if somebody was really curious and could learn really fast? Like, could you teach them? They'd probably be like, yeah. It's like, yeah, that's the problem. Because like there'll be these times where Max will randomly come to me and be like, hey, can we go sit in the other room and do some more of that algebra stuff that we were talking about that one time, you know? And like then we'll go sit and he'll learn something and then that'll be it for a while.
Right.
And it's like kind of like similar to like the piano experience where it's like, oh, I'm actually sitting here tutoring my child. Like it's a cool experience that you have, and then they learn something and they go do something with it.
And you know, a lot of parents have a fear that that's not even possible. Like even if they did do that with their child, that they wouldn't retain it or anything like that, right? And so it's really cool. Just hey, this is what's even possible that your child could, like if you knew your child could retain that information and they were curious and they could learn really fast and you know and that there was no fear of them not learning, you know, then wouldn't that be an awesome way to teach your child? You know, that's where a lot of people they just let the fear kind of just take control and they send their kid off to school or whatever to just be able to say, well, the school didn't do it. It's not my fault. It was the school.
And yeah. And we're about to enter a phase where people even do that even more so. Because it's like now with the AI, it's not like you're just sending your kid to school for learning stuff. The AI will take over everything about your child's development, life. It'll be the entertainer as well. Like imagine the school itself was also the Netflix or the YouTube or the, you know, Twitch stream or whatever. Like it's going to be all of it. And it's like, so why are you even having a kid just to put them into that so that they can be
Right.
It's not going to equalize everybody
Right.
up to the highest standard.
Right. Like, man, I would really like I'm looking for the best way to get this across to people. And that is like, man, what if you could actually do what you're here to do on this planet? What if your existence is not just going to work and making money just to survive and then die? You know?
So it's like we have to help re-educate a person so they can see for themselves, like, oh, now I see what my purpose is. Not because they were told, but because they
Right.
can see it. So there's a lot of things you have to help them undo and like realize that was just brainwashing.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is the closer we get to this singularity, whether it's the version that they claim it to be, or it's just a singularity of like all confusion all coming together to get you to question like all those points, like why do I go to work, like why do I do this, what is my purpose? Like that's where I see everything's headed. It's not necessarily to this actual singularity where everything's great. It's just the singularity of like consciousness kind of like going like this
Drake,
to the point where
Drake,
you're like, what's the point of anything?
I think the way that you could get this across, like I know you're very good at storytelling, like at the Self Perfect events and on the Hangouts and all that. Some sort of a story of the singularity thing where you could narrate it, where it's like the beginning is like people are kind of leading up, like hoping the singularity thing is going to be amazing, but then it happens, and then the aftermath, and then like the realization. I think
You know what
could
I see
do a
actually?
captivating story on that.
What I see actually is because if you think about it, when you have information that's like good information, and especially in today's day and age, when you have information first, then you have an advantage, right? You could like, I know more, I can see where this is going.
Yeah,
So
just go to Polymarket.
I can just go to Polymarket. Oh, dude, I forgot to talk about Polymarket. Remind me before we end. But when you have that information, you can see more, do more with it, and you benefit out of that, right? Well, in the coming confusion, there's just so much noise that most people don't even know, well, which information is good to begin with, right? But also at the same time, it's like then you've got these people who like they can just make a business out of any bullshit, you know, and they're just gonna lead you down some path. And that's what's happening. But all of those things will fail. And it's happening faster and faster and faster. We're seeing this, right? Where even the whole idea of like, oh, well, we just have to build all these data centers and then we got to make it out into space and then we got to do all this stuff. The whole point of that is because they're just like, we're running out of runway for our fucking money.
Right.
You know, it's not working. They can see it's all collapsing in front of them and they're just trying to grab whatever they can at this moment. That will all collapse.
Yep.
The only thing that will remain is what we're doing here. That's it.
Education.
That's it.
Re-educate humanity.
And so you can try and play that game, but it's too late already. You're seeing, like, the only reason why you even know about this shit is because it's too late.
Right.
When by the time the influencer or whatever, the guru is making the fucking course on how you too can be rich in real estate, that means it's too late. That game is over. It's
They're
done.
not playing it anymore. That's why they're making the course
why they're
because
making
they're
the
like, I
course.
got to find a way to monetize my
Right.
knowledge now, other than you apply it in the thing.
Right. This is the only thing where, hey, you can actually join in and it's not too late. It's not too late. Like, it will benefit you 100%. It will benefit your child 100%. Even as the system changes, you will benefit. And so this is the only thing that, like, the singularity is, hey, you can continue fucking walking around in circles out there playing that game that will lead you into more, not just poverty, it's like leads you more into I don't even just want to say delusion, because it's like a desperation is where it's leading you to, because you feel it. I know you feel it. Everybody feels it, right? Where it's like, you know, this isn't working and you're becoming desperate and you fucking want it to, and you're like, what do I do? What can I like, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? None of that fucking works. Yeah. It's none of that. And then that's why people turn to like, oh, it must be religion, because it's a fucking desperation that they'll just accept. Like, okay, I accept that I fucking have no clue. But we do have a clue. The reason why you have no clue is because you were put in a cell as a child for 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day or whatever it was, and taught how to hate learning, how to hate curiosity. You were taught how to detest looking for things on your own, so that when you come out of that, all you want is just a distraction. That's it. That's all you want, is just like, can you just give me like some form of entertainment, please? And tell me it's going to be okay. And then you know nothing. You're not curious to look for anything else. And you just want everything to be handed to you, in a sense. And you're seeing, oh, this is not working. And I don't know anything else. And I don't know how to know anything else. We have the solution to that. We have the way where you can see you can actually learn. It's not hard. It's not difficult. It's possible for you to have a good life for yourself, for your children. You are beyond just being a slave. That is not what your purpose here on this planet is for. And you can actually discover your purpose really clearly. And that's not to say that it's easy, but isn't it fun when you know your purpose? Like when you know what you're doing and you're working towards that. And like, even like Cam was describing, you know, like you're playing the instrument and you're hitting the wrong notes, right? And as you're hitting the wrong notes, you're like, you get a little frustrated, but you don't quit because you hit the wrong note. You're like, let me try again and see if I got the right note that time, but then I missed this other note. And then you keep going until you like, I got it. Once you know your purpose, you can go through all those frustrations. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's more enjoyable. Like you can see, like it's like, yeah, but I know what I'm here to do. You're like anointed in a way. I'm just using that word because that's like, you know, that's the word that people see is like, it's like, oh, I can see this is my mission. There's nothing that's going to take me off of this. There's nothing that you can say that would detract from this. Like I could see it. Like that is it. That's what we have. That's the singularity.
Drake, I know your opening line is going to be for the story. It's going to be like, I'm going to tell you 2 stories.
Here's the thing though, like it's not about make the story so that you can tell it one time to a bunch of people. Because go back to like the piano example. There's never going to be a thing that does that. It's like trying to replace the parent with the video tutorial. Yes, you can stimulate in that way. But here's the problem I really want everyone to be clear on. You don't know, and it should be more clear now because I've said this in the past. We should be more clear now. You don't know when that algorithm is going to not allow you to tell that story to anybody. Right. You cannot control that. You can be as clever as you want and try to get all around it. If the algorithm sees it as a threat to taking the person off the platform, it's not going to think twice about it. It's going to know that it does that. Because if 1,000 people watch your video and 1,000 people never come back to scrolling, it knows you're a threat. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying don't use the time we have and make stimulating content and so forth, but the way you get really good at telling that story is by going and sitting down at the piano with a child and do the actual messy process of being with them and seeing, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So go to that person and like when you're talking to a person and you're telling the story, it's like you're sitting with the child and you have to be patient because that person you're talking to is going to have a different context than this person. Like it can't be done in a mass marketing way. Again, there's a place for mass marketing to stimulate and to drive some people towards something. But the real fun, like, for example, if someone joins our group, fundamentally, what do they need? Do they need a bunch of videos from us? Or do they need that one-on-one interaction with people in the group? And then also all that other stuff. Like, I'm not saying my kids can't watch a video on how to play for Elise. But in itself, there's so much context that the person making the Fur Elise video doesn't have about my child. And that if I were sitting with them, I could be like, oh, do you see how you're doing that? Let me show you why I would do it this way. Because you see what I mean? Like, you can't put all that in the video. Like, why? Like, for example, Max, when he's playing part of the melody with this hand and part with this hand. And I was like, that's fine to do that now. I'm not saying you should stop doing the way you're doing it, but if you want to play the real full version eventually, you're going to have to learn to play this whole thing you're playing with one hand because there's other notes on this part of it that you're not hearing yet. You're just playing the melody, right? So if you want to eventually go further, you're going to, at a certain point, realize, oh, I need to develop the ability to play this whole thing just with one hand. And then I got to add other parts in too. So I'm not doing that to like stop and like, no, right now you got to learn this. But I can see like that's going to be a limitation at a certain point. So I'm just planting that seed, right?
Yeah.
So when you're talking to somebody, like imagine they don't know that the money system is a debt-based money system. Right? Okay, so I got to put that in my video. Okay, they don't know that all the religions stem from...
You gotta just listen to all 296 other episodes of the podcast.
But do you see the problem, right? It's like you can't put it all in one place because you can't predict what context this person doesn't have. You can't see when they're reacting to the fact that you said it's debt-based. You're like, what's your reaction? Wow. You know, and they have something that's going on within them internally. Just like when the kid's getting frustrated, the video, what, do I want the AI to do that for me?
Right.
Well, it can't, but yeah.
But that's where you have to understand, that's where everyone's going to go. They're not going to give a shit. Okay, I'm not saying nobody. I'm just talking about the average person. I want you to imagine in the future, you're watching a YouTube video, okay? I'm about to predict the future for you guys. You're watching a YouTube video, okay? And as it's playing, it's like a Danny Jones interview or, like anything that you like to watch on YouTube, no matter what the context is, okay? Imagine you're watching a Danny Jones interview with some interesting person like Doug Rushkoff or whoever the fuck, right? Okay, and they're having this conversation. Imagine you're watching it. And you go, well, hold on. I don't understand why you're saying that point because I heard this and this. And then Douglas Rushkoff starts talking about the point you just asked about.
Oh, wow.
Think about that for a second, right? Imagine you're watching the piano tutorial. And you're like, what? I don't understand. I can't get it to do this part. And then they stop and they start talking to you. Okay, well, what are you trying to do? Like, that's where this is fucking going.
Yeah.
Interactive media.
Right? So if you're putting all your eggs in, I'm going to make the videos that explain everything to everybody, people are going to be like, I don't want to watch your fucking old ass, I can't talk to you fucking version. I want the AI. Like, I know right now we're in this transition where people are like, fuck AI, fuck AI. That's just because it's not that good yet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody wanted fucking cell phones back when it was just bullshit. Some people needed it. But now that it's this version, everybody fucking wants it.
Yeah.
It's like the early adopter. We're in the early adopter phase of the AI where you still have to put a lot into it and bring a lot to the table. So only if you know stuff already does it really work for you. But when it's at the part where it's the dumbed down version, like imagine your child, we talked about this before, like they're watching a Mickey Mouse video and then Mickey Mouse is talking to them. And then it's a virtual reality where they're in the room with Mickey Mouse, and he's like, come on an adventure with me. And you're like, I don't know, Mickey, I'm scared of dragons. He's like, oh, you don't like dragons? Whoop, I made the dragon disappear. Now it's a unicorn, or, you know, whatever. Like, can you imagine how captured people are going to become by this?
And then Mickey's like, I'm sorry, I have to go home. Unless you've got $40.
Yeah, if you were a Joe Rogan type podcaster, you know, I'm not trying to pick on Joe Rogan in particular, just anybody, like a Jordan Peterson, anybody, and you realize this is where things are going, wouldn't you upload yourself, so to speak, into an AI? So it's like, I can go to the Jordan Peterson lecture and I can talk to Jordan Peterson, and he can stop and answer all my questions and talk to me for an hour about whatever.
Ray Dalio is doing it.
He's trying to do.
That's what I'm saying. So what we are presenting is sort of we're not against technology, but it's the human element, right? Because, you know, like, okay, if I could sit down with Danny Jones and talk to him, or sit down with Jordan Peterson, you know, and it's not being filmed, like we're just talking, I can ask questions, and there may be some limit to what he's willing to tell me, but I would see that.
Yeah.
But if it's the AI version, I'm like, how do I even know if this is what Jordan Peterson would really say?
Right.
Am I really talking to Jordan Peterson right now? Or is this just, to a certain degree, it's like him, and then now it's like Jordan Peterson is now talking to me about quantum mechanics in detail? Like, he wouldn't even know that, you know? So it's like, what am I talking to exactly? Now
you just asked Jordan Peterson about Israel, and he's like, my backers tell me I can't talk about this.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, like, we as much as it is convenient to automate, and again, like, I'm not saying to, because like I'm making the live streams, I upload those, like it's there for posterity. People can go and look at this. Like, everybody's making content. Like, that's all very good. I'm just saying, within yourself, don't devalue the point of, like, what I really have to get good at is when I'm talking to someone, help them process what I'm saying. It's not just about the story I tell. It's like, because the story might actually change. It might end up being 4 different ways you tell it, because you find out basically there's 4 different ways that seem to work for most people. But how do you know which person you're talking to?
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Right.
So it's about really getting into that person and supporting them to process what you're saying. And it may require you going all like this for a while when you're talking to them.
Yeah. Inside everybody, Mitchell, there's 4 wolves.
Which wolf are you? Interactive with Drake.
Interactive quiz.
And with my new AI platform, you can talk to all 4 of them.
Let me tell you guys about Polymarket real quick. Did you know Polymarket is rigged gambling?
No, don't say that. Allegedly. That's not true legally.
Yeah, no, legally not. But like, I think it was A More Perfect Union did a piece on them because they had reached out.
We're just reporting on what they said, so go sue them.
Yeah, don't sue me. I'm not.
I'm just reporting on their report.
I'm just saying this is what Polymarket said. They called it gambling. That's what they said. Okay.
You Perfect Union did? More Perfect Union?
Yeah. A More Perfect Union. That one. But apparently, like, the Polymarket had reached out to them to be a part of their platform or whatever, and I don't know how that fucking works. But A More Perfect Union basically started looking into how does Polymarket actually operate, and Kalshi and all that. And they were saying, well, the effects that it's having is basically like, because they do sports betting as well, they don't call it betting, right? But they're like, it's making sports betting more accessible than the sports betting websites or whatever. And they get to bypass all the regulation that the sports betting platforms have to do. So because the way they're regulated, I think, directly by the FCC or FTC.
Probably FTC, I would guess.
Probably FTC, right? But because they're regulated at the federal level and not by the state, they don't have to do all the things that the state requires, which is like, you have to give so much in taxes, like 50%, in taxes. You have to have
For
a
like your earnings
program-
when you win?
What's that?
For when you win, like on your earnings, you mean?
Like, no, for the
The company itself?
house, when the house takes the money, they have to give like a certain amount, like polyamory market. That's funny. They have to give like a certain percent of the house earnings as a tax
Okay.
to I guess the state. And then they also have to have programs for gambling. So like, if gambling is a problem for you, you can call this hotline. They have to fund those things actually. Right? So the casinos and the sports betting and the bookies and all that stuff, they have to pay for all that shit. So there's so much money that they have to pay out because they're listed as gambling, whereas Polymarket and Kalshi and these predictive markets don't have to do that. And the other thing is, they were saying because of the nature of what they're talking about with the prediction markets, where it's like, we know that people are better, I guess, at finding the truth than the news agencies or whatever. So that's their whole pitch with doing the predictions, is that the prediction will tell you what's most likely to happen. They said that's not really true, first of all, but what it does is it incentivizes the people who are in the know, so basically insider trading, to make big bets, because then that changes the bet to show, this is what people are betting for, so this is what you'll make the most money on, or the least money on, because this is what's most likely to happen. But that only happens if somebody on the inside is like, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen. Like, I know how many streams this artist is going to get in Spotify because I work at fucking Spotify. But then also, how do you regulate?
If you own all the data centers,
right?
You already know what everyone's thinking.
Right.
Like, I could see how you have that advantage of like the information. Like, you would know who's streaming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you own that data, you would know ahead of time, like, who's going to be the number one guy, because it's already you could see the momentum of people listening to it or something.
Right. And then how do you know who's an insider? Because
Right.
if we do an interview, you and I, right, or the three of us, we do an interview, and they say, okay, well, you three are excluded from trading on this, but we go tell our wives,
Right.
and then they tell their friends, and etc.
And they set up a shell company in the Caribbean, and then
Right. But you don't even have to go that far. It's like, the friends of our friends invest in that, and they make a whole bunch of money. It's like they had insider information,
Right.
but how can you prove that? So anyway, what it all boiled down to is basically like the poors are being taken advantage of because they don't have the state regulations in place. More people are falling susceptible and getting into bigger debt with these prediction markets, especially because they don't list themselves as gambling or whatever. So people think it's like safe. Obviously that's retarded, right? But people think it's safer, and that I just got to make this one big bet, and they keep getting into bigger and bigger and bigger debt due to the gambling. And the last thing I'll say, I happened to see a clip of an interview where this guy was talking about how he got into trouble doing sports gambling, and he owed a bunch of money, like either tens or hundreds of thousands or something like that. He owed a bunch of money. And to get out of his debt, what he decided to do was, he says he put on a wig of dreadlocks, painted his face black, and went and robbed a bunch of bodegas. And he took that money and was like, okay, I robbed 4 stores and I made $4,000. He's like, that's not enough. So then what he decided to do was, he said he went and hid in the bushes behind an ATM where a bunch of his coworkers, because he worked at a bank also. So he's like, a bunch of his coworkers would go, and he knows the kind of money that they're taking out of the ATM. So he would go and rob them at gunpoint, like tackle them, rob them. He's got this get up on, and he's like, he knows how much they're taking out. He's like, oh, they're taking out 15,000 at a time. I did that a couple times, and like I know this person that I'm robbing. And then he's like, but as they were telling this interview, he's like, the interviewer is agreeing with him. He's like, yeah, you know, when you're in that world, when you get into gambling, that you're willing to do some really crazy, nasty shit just to like come back on top, just to like, so that you don't get, you know, hunted down by the mob or whatever. And we're creating, as a society, a whole fucking, you know, population of people.
It's like a
level.
It's like the sinkhole in Siberia. It's its own version of that.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we
Anyway.
got to go.
Yeah.
See you next time. You want me to do it? I'll do it.
Yeah, you do it.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.
Bye. Don't touch it, Mitchell.
I'm doing it.
Self-perfected, making things clear.